Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream, back with another one. This one is going to be a banger. However, it will be controversial, so it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit ya.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民。と言っても、実際世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったこっち見ろ。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no-ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated. Y'all seen the title, y'all seen the thumbnail, and we are going to get straight into it. Unless you've been living under a rock, you guys know what is happening in the streets right now. There has been another fatal shooting this time at the hands of a Border Patrol agent, or agents plural, because it wasn't just one, it was multiple shooters. And before I get into it, I was going to give y'all a rundown, but I've compiled a compilation video, and this will break down the things, and then I'll get into the reaction videos. So, and hopefully you guys engage in the chat. I did leave a poll in the chat. So here's some background of what's happening. Let me know if you have any issues here in the video.
Trump's Republican Party are joining calls for a full investigation following the second fatal shooting this month by US federal immigration agents in Minneapolis. Thousands of people have been marching through the city to protest against the killing. The Trump administration insists that Alex Pretty, who was 37, was planning to assault officers, while local officials say that makes no sense.
And unfortunately, the video, there's no way for me to make it louder. So hopefully it's loud enough for you guys, but I can't make the video any louder. Just want to let y'all know.
Because videos of the incident do not show him brandishing a gun. The former Democratic President Barack Obama said the shooting was a heartbreaking tragedy and should be a wake-up call. He also accused the Trump administration of offering explanations which video evidence appeared to contradict. His predecessor, Bill Clinton, has described the events in Minneapolis as horrible scenes that I never thought would take place in America. Well, let's get more now from Tom Bateman, who's in Minneapolis, and a warning: you might find some of the scenes in his report distressing.
Mourners have been returning to the spot where Alex Pretty was killed, the second American shot dead by immigration officers in a month in Minneapolis. They lay claim to his legacy in what has become a battle with the Trump administration over both values and narrative. The state's Democrat governor, Tim Walz, appealed to the country to choose.
I've got a question for all of you. What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government.
But the man now known on the streets for fronting Mr. Trump's deportation drive was doubling down.
I would implore upon any individuals, whether they're anarchists, rioters, or anyone else that thinks it wise to go into a law enforcement scene to disrupt, to delay, is to don't do that.
Several videos show the moments leading up to Mr. Pretty's death. Pushed and pepper sprayed and wrestled to the ground, agents then appeared to disarm him of a handgun, which police say he had a permit to carry, before immigration agents shot him multiple times. Alex Pretty was 37, an intensive care nurse who treated sick military veterans. His family says the administration's version of him is totally untrue.
He cared about people deeply, and he was very upset with what was happening in Minneapolis and throughout the United States.
A call for justice here faces the full counterweight of the Trump administration, accusing a city of inciting an insurrection. Divisions laid bare in blood, and Minneapolis mourns again. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Minnesota.
Well, the BBC's Carl Nasman is also in Minneapolis.
This city now grieving for the second time in just a matter of weeks. You can see behind me, this is the memorial to Alex Pretty. This is the site, of course, where that altercation took place. And throughout the day, we've seen hundreds of people coming here to pay their respects, leave flowers and messages and light candles. This all coming less than 3 weeks after the death of Renee Good. And amid the protests, amid the vigils, there's now a political battle brewing over who's to blame for the chaos in this city. We've heard the Trump administration placing that blame at the feet of local lawmakers. They say they are stoking these protests, encouraging people to block ICE activity here, which is designed, they say, to remove dangerous criminals from the city. On the other hand, officials like Tim Walz, the Democratic governor of the state, blames Donald Trump and his immigration policy. But I do think it's notable that we're now hearing from some high-profile Republican lawmakers, these are senators, now questioning some of these ICE tactics and calling for an independent investigation into this latest shooting.
Okay, so it looks like we got enough people in the chat that I can definitely give out the shout out. So I have to give a shout out to none other than the hardest working mod on YouTube, Vibrant Lowell. Then we got Sunlight from the Sunshine State, shining brighter than a diamond. We got Tutney's FBA all day. Then we got Tay Bay, and we got Roger Meadows in the building.
One senator putting it very simply that the credibility of ICE is at stake.
Well, BBC Verify has analysed.
When they say the credibility of ICE is at stake, what exactly does that even mean? Because Tom Homan, people paint Tom Homan to be this boogeyman, but Tom Homan was appointed under Obama and now he's appointed under Trump. So both parties support ICE. When you put a mic in front of people's face, they act as if the deportations are so horrific, but they do agree with them. They just want it done in a more sanitized manner.
Videos of the shooting from multiple angles, piecing together a detailed picture of what happened. Ros Atkins' report contains footage which, again, you may find distressing.
The first video we have of Alex Pretty, he's in the road, holding a phone and talking with a federal agent. The officer pushes him, and he steps backwards. Kristi Noem is US Homeland Security Secretary. This is her account of why Alex Pretty died.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
But in this video, as in others, Alex Pretty had nothing in one hand, a phone in the other. We see two people interacting with an agent. We then see an agent push one of those people, then push the second person. Alex Pretty steps between them and the agent and is pepper sprayed. He's wrestled to the ground by a number of agents. He's on his knees, bent over. His hands are on the floor and he's struggling against being held down. One agent repeatedly strikes in the direction of his head. And take note of this agent. He has nothing in his right hand, reaches down and removes what appears to be a gun from Alex Pretty's waistband. Then he steps back, holding the pistol, which appears to match this image shared by the authorities. Carrying this type of gun is legal in Minnesota with a valid permit. The police say they believe Alex Pretty had one. Less than a second after the gun is removed, an agent fires the first shot. As Alex Pretty lies motionless, further shots are fired while agents are standing clear of his body. In total, 10 shots were fired in 5 seconds. In all of these videos, we don't see Alex Pretty holding a gun. But once more, we have seen an American killed in the street by federal agents, followed by the Trump administration making claims about what happened.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. There are two different things that I'd like to discuss with you tonight. The first one being a storm that is barreling down on our country and will be impacting approximately 250 million Americans in 40 different states. We've been working together here at the FEMA headquarters and have opened our National Response Coordination Center and are working with local and state authorities to make sure that we're getting individuals and communities pre-deployed resources that they may need and also preparing them for the upcoming days, which will significantly impact them and their citizens. The Trump administration and FEMA are working closely with them to get them information, to get them resources, and to help them be prepared and well equipped for the road ahead as we go through this next week. But before I take any questions and give more details on the storm and its impact, I do want to address the tragic situation that we saw in Minneapolis today that unfolded on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country. At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history.
So I'll rewind the video back. Of course, I got to briefly stop it so that I don't get a copyright strike. Someone comes in, says, "Ice, Ice, baby." So you're supportive of ICE. ICE already previously shot someone fatally, and now the Border Patrol has done that in partnership with ICE. This person says, "After Charlie Kirk, I could care less what happens to the protesters." I mean, is this rage bait? Is this incel talk? I'm not sure. So because Charlie Kirk was assassinated by someone who looked like him, now you don't care if other people's rights are infringed upon? This is the opposite of "don't tread on my rights." Because Charlie Kirk was assassinated, now you don't care if rights are treaded on. This doesn't make any sense. The agent in the gray hoodie retrieved the gun when he walked away. The SIG P320 accidentally discharged. That's what triggered the agents. There are lawsuits about the gun. Has anyone, and I can't necessarily refute this, from what I seen and my observation, this does appear to be accurate. I'm just waiting for any of the officials to confirm this. If this is the truth and we're a nation of laws and morality and Christian righteousness and values, I would think that someone from this administration should attest to what we've seen happen. No self-defense is murder. That's what I asked. Is this murder or was this just a mishap? Some people are saying this happened because of failed training. So is this incompetence? Is this intentional? Was it just an accident? Some people are saying, why didn't Alex just comply? And others are saying he was complying by legally and lawfully protesting. Let me rewind this back and play a little more.
Take any questions and give more details on the storm and its impact, I do want to address the tragic situation that we saw in Minneapolis today that unfolded on the streets. It occurred with DHS law enforcement as they carried out their lawful duties to keep Americans safe in the threat of criminal illegal aliens in this country. At 9:05 a.m., Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers.
Hey, Baz, could you clarify in the chat? It's when you say we're going to play by your rules now, whose rules exactly are you playing by? Biden's rules? Those aren't my rules. The Democratic rules? What rules are you referring to? Clarify that in the chat.
Criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject.
Charlie said it himself. Once you stop having conversations, violence happens. Here is the violence. Now you want to talk. Well, was Charlie a violent man? Because if you're saying that he was a violent man, then violence begets violence. It's almost like a gladiator being upset that, they fell, in the arena, right? He was in the arena, and unfortunately, violence begets violence. Unless you're saying that he's not a violent man and the violence shouldn't be fell upon him, right? So then you shouldn't be inciting and promulgating violence towards anyone else, right? Is violence okay or isn't it okay? Because if it's okay, then, kind of is what it is with Charlie, right? And I guess you're saying it kind of is what it is with the protesters. So then no one should be complaining about crime and lawlessness and bringing up BLM and riots and all this stuff, right? Because you want more violence, right? So let the violence ensue by law enforcement, by citizens. Y'all want the purge, right? Let's commence.
Illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to...
Shout out to Tutneys. I always say that. See, these are the people that always say they believe in small government, but somehow they want some sort of robust police state. So you want every other government to shrink, but you want the police budget to grow. You want them to be more militarized. And then because you think they're turning their ire towards a particular demographic, you champion it on and say, why didn't you just comply? Didn't do nothing and all this stuff. Okay, fine. If this is the type of state and society that you want and you're champion for, when it gets to police state, then what are people complaining about? I thought it was cool. I thought it was back to blue no matter who. All of these are enforcement agencies, governing bodies. They're all an aspect and an extension of the government. The government are sending them out there as minions to police you, to enforce you. All of these laws that they're enforcing upon you, they won't be enforced on Elon Musk or Bezos or Bloomberg or anything like that. So people have championed for a police state, which is big government. And then, the same people, the same don't tread on my rights. Who you think is going to tread on your rights? It's not going to be some poor gangbanger from Oakland. It's going to be Border Patrol. It's going to be ICE. It's going to be CIA. It's going to be the alphabet agencies that tread on your rights. Instead, you're talking about George Floyd. George Floyd has been dead for how long? How is George Floyd treading on your rights? You're not talking about Peter Thiel in the nanny state with the mass surveillance. He's treading on your rights because he has the complexion for the protection of the collection. You have nothing to say. How pathetic is that?
in this country. At 9:05 a.m., Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license.
Ashura, the title has an upside down word because it's if you see, it's just the word that I have on the screen is that murder or mishap. I just was unsure if it was okay to put that in the title, so that's why I spelled it upside down. But you got to look carefully, try to put a little X-Files unsolved mystery stuff in there for you.
Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice.
So this person says ICE needs more help. They've got more help. The ICE shot someone fatally. Now this was the Border Patrol shooting someone fatally, multiple agents. So at least with ICE, they've gotten more than enough help. With ICE, it was one shooter allegedly who shot Renee Good. In this situation, there were multiple Border Patrol agents that shot Mr. Pretty. So yeah, ICE is getting help. They've got billions of dollars allocated to them. They've got new trucks. They've got more firearms and all sorts of firepower. So what more help do you want for ICE? ICE agents are not victims.
And other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed.
So can do boo. It sounds like you have an affinity and a lot of adulation for the late Charlie Kirk. It says, do you know who Charlie is? He did not have a violent bone in his body. So if Charlie didn't have a violent bone in his body, why are you advocating for violence, right? Shouldn't you be advocating for peace, since Charlie was taken off of this earth in a very brutal, barbaric fashion, right? Shouldn't you be advocating for more peaceful measures to be taken more so than violent? Right? Wouldn't that uphold and uplift the legacy of Charlie Kirk by you pushing peaceful rhetoric more so than kind of deranged, violent rhetoric? Is that what Charlie would want?
To bring safety to the public and to law enforcement, deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind.
And this dude says no one wants a police state, but we literally are living in a police state, you idiot. And I'm sure you voted for this type of stuff. And then these are the same types that say they want the laws enforced. But when it's their people that they vote for that are violating the law all the time, that they don't have anything. They want people locked up for petty crimes. If you do the crime, you do the time. But they don't care about the Epstein files. The Epstein files are a bunch of people in there that look like you from your community. Do you want any of them locked up? People will say, release the files, release the files. Who's not releasing it? It's a bunch of people that look like you in those files, and it's a bunch of people that look like you that refuse to release the files. Where's the accountability for your community, idiot? You're not even morally enforcing any type of laws, idiot. You're voting for this type of stuff. And you're voting for police state. You thought because they were locking up and harassing other people that it wouldn't happen to you. You thought that, hey, they were doing it to the niggers and the minorities and stuff. And then now they're doing it to you, bro. You don't even have enough gall. You don't even have enough fortitude to show your own face, to even have an avatar. You can even get an AI avatar and smoothen up your skin. So it's like you're kind of like a faceless troll account, babbling incoherently, calling people idiots. You can't even stand on anything that you're saying, and you can't defeat me in any type of debate because you're intellectually not formidable.
Everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. Our law enforcement
who will say that he should have complied, that he should have played dead, that he should have not tried to get up and defend himself. And those are people who keep needing to imagine that we live in a free country when they know we don't. The country is only free for people who agree with what the administration is doing. The country is only free if you're A-OK with having ICE terrorize your community, break down people's doors without warrants, detain your DoorDash driver, detain a 5-year-old, tear gas a 6-month-old, and while in detention, not offer any kind of medical care. That is what compliance looks like. It means laying down, rolling over, and saying nothing while people are disappeared. That's what it means. A lot of people right now want to grab guns, and they say, look, they're armed, we should be armed. Here's my thing on that. They're going to outnumber us. They will always outnumber us. State violence will always win out. I'm not saying you shouldn't have something for your protection if you feel protected, but for me, the last thing I want is crossfire. The last thing I want is an excuse to bring in the military. While it is important to join your neighborhood watch committee, to get into a rapid response group, this is all important, and I don't think it's enough. And I also don't think that being armed is enough. What we need is mass civil disobedience. We need mass non-compliance. What we need is more of what Minnesotans proved in sub 20 degree weather that we have, which is people power. We need to shut it down. This is not just about where the violence is and who is being attacked. This is about everyone else who wants to do business as usual. This is about everyone else who thinks that they can just duck under this, or every elected official, every corporation that thinks they're going to suck money from us, that they're going to send us to work for them and not have to answer to what is going on. So I'm talking civil disobedience, sit-ins, die-ins, blocking roads en masse. There is strength and safety in numbers because they're out here murdering. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. If he was armed, more reason to. They are murderers that have been given a shiny badge by Kristi Noem. Unless and until we take mass action on a daily, weekly, on a replicable basis, unless we bring this mass resistance to the White House itself, to DC, this is going to keep happening. Rest in peace, Alex. You were just doing what so many of us would have done.
I just reviewed the footage of the killing of Alex Pretty, and I'm going to show you the video, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. In this video, I want you to watch this guy right here, the guy in the gray. Grabs Alex's gun out of his waistband right here. Did you see it? Did you see it? I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to zoom in. Right there. Let's slow it down. right here. That officer grabbed Alex Pretty's legal firearm, which I carry around a fucking firearm all the time, grabbed it out of his waistband, and he accidentally discharged his firearm. And that freaked everybody else out, and they fucking murdered him. And how fucking dare this administration post this shit on X, saying that Alex approached him with a 9mm handgun, and he violently resisted, and he wanted to inflict maximum damage on these officers. This is shit that fucking Iran does. Do you understand that? I am a licensed firearm owner, and how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you do this to your own citizens? And how dare you, MAGA, fucking support this shit? They fucked up and they murdered that kid. There are going to be charges. Kristi Noem and every single ICE officer is going to prison come the fucking midterms. And I am not gonna, and every single fucking person watching this is not gonna rest. You murdered an American citizen and then you posted on your propaganda machine trying to make it seem like he was a fucking violent individual. That is what authoritarian nations do.
Well, welcome to an authoritative nation. Somebody says our tax money is taken to these dudes. They have better equipment than the military, cat daddy, man. And you got to add the man. So this is what I'm trying to say. People keep saying, ICE, they feared for their life. They have better equipment than some countries' military, but yet they're over there quivering in fear. They say if you scared, go to church. They don't say if you scared, join ICE or try to be a police officer or join the border patrol. If you scared, go to church, go in the corner and pray. You know, I'll bring you a Lunchable and a Capri Sun and a Dr. Seuss book. Don't try to join these institutions where you're going to be in the field in the line of fire. So I'm going to bring up a CNN video and we'll be reacting to that video. Salute to everybody that's viewing this live concurrently. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. So we're going to bring this video up and we're going to get the CNN perspective. And then I'll play a video of Dana Bash. She is debating or interviewing the Border Patrol officer. So let's see what really happened based on the CNN perspective.
Tom Foreman is here to walk us through what we're hearing from federal officials, but also what the videos show, including the new videos, because what they are saying and what the videos are showing are not always the same thing, Tom.
Yeah, very much. I want to start with the very first statement made by the Trump administration in the aftermath of this shooting. It was a tweet by the Department of Homeland Security showing a firearm on what appears to be the seat of a car. And the tweet reads, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, seen here. You see the picture behind it there. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage.
So this is another thing, too, when they keep saying, but they just need more training. So are they incompetent? Because if they're not well trained, then that means that they're incompetent and insufficiently trained. So let's just start there. Are they incompetent? Could we get a yes or no to that? If you're saying they're not incompetent, then that means that they are competent, means they're sufficiently trained. So then we can stop with the excuse that it was poor training. Which one is it? And if they were poorly trained, how are they out there on the field? Are they DEI hires? Is this affirmative action? Is this wokeness? Because this seems like more affirmative action in DEI than anything. You're saying that these insufficiently trained officers are going out there and then they're so insufficiently trained and that's why they're accidentally, mistakenly, fatally unaliving people, U.S. citizens right now. I mean, they've always done this to black people, but now they're doing this to people in the dominant society. So now people, you know, heads are going to roll, allegedly. Let's see.
In the aftermath of this shooting, it was a tweet by the Department of Homeland Security showing a firearm on what appears to be the seat of a car. And the tweet reads, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun seen here. You see the picture behind it there. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage.
Here's another person, and your name has gun. You should be really ashamed of yourself. In the title, your name says gun M1 tank, and you're saying, well, why didn't she just comply? Why didn't he just comply? He was complying. He had a legal firearm with a legal permit. He complied with the law. So why didn't the Border Patrol comply? Why were they just unhinged and deranged? Why was their impulse control so low? Could it have been because they were DEI hires and they got, let's just call it affirmative action with their insufficient training? They were too incompetent to be out in the field. Let's just call it what it was. Was it because their IQ was low or because the training was poor? Which one is it, and was it?
And massacre law enforcement. Now we have this new angle of the video that's just been cleared by CNN, and it shows the lead up to this deadly altercation with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun seen here. You see the picture behind it there. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Now we have this new angle of the video that's just been cleared by CNN, and it shows the lead up to this deadly altercation. This is what I want you to take a look at. Of course, this is disturbing video. Let's take some time though and watch this together. Some things to note. As it begins, you see Pretty out there in the middle of the street. He shows up right in this area here. You start seeing him, and he is at one point using his camera. There he is, right there, and he's pointing to traffic, sort of waving traffic through. At some moment here, you see that law enforcement approaches him, and he backs away as they start moving up on him. He is not trying to move toward them. He's backing away. Then you're going to see one of these officers approach a woman near him and really forcefully shove her to the ground. Right.
Yeah, and this is where I'm at. The person that says the man, right or left, we are all American citizens and our rights are being violated. So while I understand people saying this is not our fight, and I get it, this is not our fight, but this is our concern. Whenever your rights are being infringed upon, especially the people who are constitutionalists, always constitution thumping, yes, you should definitely have an issue with what's going on right now. Rights are being trampled on, and they've always been trampled on. The thing is, it's been targeted at specific demographics that people deemed unworthy and beneath them, so they were okay. And now, since people have been desensitized and normalized the mistreatment and abuse and injustice in the system, now people are kind of whining, but cue the tiny violin.
Right there. And Pretty, you see that law enforcement approaches him, and he backs away as they start moving up on him. He is not trying to move toward them. He's backing away. Then you're going to see one of these officers approach a woman near him and really forcefully shove her to the ground right there. And Pretty starts rushing over toward her. Now they're both getting pepper sprayed at this point. He gets grabbed and he's taken over to the ground here. I'll point out this is about 15 seconds from when officers turned to him. He's now on the ground. They are on top of him. The officers are all around. He does not appear to have a weapon in his hand. He doesn't brandish anything. He doesn't seem to do anything.
And just to let y'all know, if you want to watch the video uninterrupted, you can go on the CNN channel. I just have to pause it, make interjections, to liven up the broadcast, but also so I don't get a copyright strike. Dog says, yeah, the Democratic Party idiots. Why didn't you release all the files for 4 years? Yes, I do believe that the Democrats deserve more scrutiny because when Biden was in office, he elected not to release the files. This is why I say both parties are the same. Two fangs on the same viper, two cheeks on the same booty. It's kind of like wrestling, right? The Rock versus Stone Cold. You pick a side, but they're all under the banner of the WWF or the WWE. So they don't want to see the league toppled or trampled in any type of way. Both parties are beholden to their donors, and their donors, many of them probably were in those files. they don't want to release the files. Even right now, it's almost idiotic for people to just keep pushing release the files, because if you think that the people in there, they're so powerful enough, you think that they don't know that they're in the files, you think they haven't already maneuvered behind the scenes to make sure that any shred of evidence that implicates them is already destroyed. And people clamor over releasing the files, release the files, and they release files 20, 30 years later, and it's heavily redacted, and all you have to do is speculate. They release photos and say, look, Epstein was with this person and that person. How many photos and unsavory people that you don't like, or maybe you were okay with at the time, and then now you're not? How many of those people have you taken pictures with? So a picture says 1,000 words, but they don't mean that those 1,000 words are true, right? So it's just all speculation. The Democrats could have released the files. They chose not to. The Republicans release files that's heavily redacted in their nothing burgers that point to their political opponents to kind of shame, shun, and ostracize them. But they ultimately lead to a nothing burger. If they already know the names in those files, why haven't they arrested other people? They've seen the files. Forget releasing the files. They don't even have to release them. Why aren't they arresting and prosecuting other people? They've seen the names, and then it's in the names of the victim, right? But when it came to Diddy, right, they were railing against Diddy, but they said, oh, we're not going to release the names of the victims. So why won't you put forth the names of the perpetrator and redact the victim names? Say so-and-so, this senator, this public figure, this CEO was a pedo, and they violated this anonymous victim. They violated Jane Doe. Why can't they say that? This is the greatest nation and a nation of laws, right? Why can't they say that? This is rhetorical. They can, they choose not to. Both parties are the same.
Point. He gets grabbed and he's taken over to the ground here. I'll point out this is about 15 seconds from when officers turned to him. He's now on the ground. They are on top of him. The officers are all around. He does not appear to have a weapon in his hand. He doesn't brandish anything. He doesn't seem to do anything. And then all of a sudden you see one agent in the middle there. Look, he turns away, and that's when the shooting begins. One shot followed by, in our analysis, 9 other shots there. We heard from Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino. He was asked at what point Pretty brandished a weapon in all of this. This was his answer.
Ali, this situation again is evolving. This situation is under investigation. Those facts will come to light.
This is important because an important detail, because concealed carry is legal. We know from local officials Pretty had a permit to carry a weapon, and law enforcement analysts here on CNN have raised questions as to why the picture.
This is one thing that MAGA will always make an excuse for Trump. They think that Trump is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Cool. Have the greatest thing, release the files. Now, if he does release them, it's going to be heavily redacted. It's really going to be a nothing burger. You're not going to find anything of note because they've already tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, anything that implicates us, they've already donated hundreds and millions to him. And right now, if somebody gave you $2,000, you probably wouldn't rat on them. If they give you 200 million, do you think you're going to release some incriminating stuff towards them? Especially when they can just lie and give you other distractions. And many people in the, polite society, especially the MAGA maniacs, they're willing to get easily distracted. All they got to do is bring up George Floyd and BLM, and they'll be like, forget the Epstein files. Who cares about those files? Let's just talk about BLM and share old fight videos of black people. It's like, okay, but how did that help your life? Peter Thiel is still surveilling you, and you're talking about George Floyd still.
Picture of this gun that DHS shared online was shown on the seat of a car and not in the scene where Pretty was shot. And we now have an answer. CNN analysis shows, if you watch all those videos carefully, you see a federal agent right there who appears to be removing a gun. This is very critical to remember. This
is an interesting name, Base Trash Bag. I kind of like that name. Hey, so Trash Bag, is this a question or a statement? Is this what you voted for? And y'all let me know in the chat, is this what y'all voted for? Or are you guys happy what's going on, ecstatic? Is this necessary what's being done? Or are we leading towards more feudalism and the inevitable police nanny state that we're already living in?
That piece of video you're seeing right there is happening about a second or maybe slightly less than a second before the shooting begins. Now, it is just video. We have to look at it. There will be a lot of questions here, but that's the reason people say you have to have a truly impartial and fair investigation here, because if he removed the gun before all this shooting broke out, then why is this man now dead?
So that's a fair question. If he removed the gun, why is this man shot fatally? They feared for their life. They feared for their life when their agent took the firearm. Where was the threat? And like I said, if you're scared, go to church. You're surrounded by multiple agents holding a man down. The dude is not strong enough. He wasn't Incredible Hulk. He wasn't Spider-Man, where he was going to be able to overpower all of those people. So with all of their agents, multiple ones of them, all of them are armed to the T, they're still scared for their life. This is wild. It just seems like, is everyone in law enforcement just over there just trembling with fear, almost about to pee their pants, that they have to just have an itchy quick trigger finger? Get a desk job.
Partial and fair investigation here, because if he removed the gun before all this shooting broke out, then why is this man now dead? It's really quite a remarkable series of events all coming together here, but almost all of them, Aaron, contradict the story that came out of the Trump administration early on today.
And let's go now to our senior law enforcement analyst, Andrew McCabe, also the former deputy director of the FBI. So, Director McCabe, what do you see in all of this so far, from the information that we have, from the video you've watched, from the responses we've gotten from DHS and from Mr. Bovino?
Well, I mean, obviously, Aaron, at the core of it, you have an unbelievable tragedy where it appears that a potentially unarmed person was essentially assassinated by horrible law enforcement tactics that dramatically escalated the situation. But you know, there are so many questions here at the absolute core of lethal force training in the FBI Academy, in the Academy at Glencoe, Georgia, where DHS agents, ICE agents, Border Patrol folks go through. You are taught from the very beginning that if you use your weapon, you have to be able to, after the fact, articulate exactly why you perceived an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. And so the question now is, when are we going to hear that articulation? What is the reason that these officers, or a single officer, we don't know how many people shot, believed they were in imminent threat of death by this person who was, by every video we've seen, on the ground with anywhere from 4 to 5 officers on top of him at the same time? Nowhere in these videos do you see a weapon in this man's hand. And so while Commander Bovino's statement was very artfully written, yes, they encountered someone who had a gun, it is not clear that that man ever presented the gun, brandished the gun, pointed the gun at anyone, threatened to harm any of these officers. So what's the excuse for having to use lethal force here? We have no idea.
No, and in fact, they were quick to, post a picture of the gun, which they removed from the crime scene. They put in a car. They said, look at these extra magazines. That there was some deplorable act that he was prepared to commit. But they've never actually even said that he did brandish it. And obviously, there's no video evidence that he did any such.
So Jeffrey says the problem with mass resistance, look at Iran. How many people have been shot by the military? There are 30,000 or more. Do you really want that here? There's got to be another way. Well, if the numbers, because we do have the numbers, it's just there's not the will for people to rise up against the government. As much as people talk about the fascist state of the government, people want fascism, they want feudalism. It's just they want to strengthen their position in there. Pretty much they want the status quo. They're okay with Elon and Jeff Bezos and Peter Thiel and Miriam Adelson, name whoever you want to think, BlackRock, J Street, they're okay with them owning everything as long as they just get a bigger piece of the pie and it maintains the racial hierarchy. They act as if it's not like that, but then they never want to come together with people. Then they think sharing memes about black people, subscribing to every negative stereotype and trope. And then they're like, we're wondering, why can't we just come together? You know what I mean? Yeah, we're shitting on you. Yeah, we think you're lesser than, but we just can't figure out why people are not coming together. They'll subscribe to dweebs like Nick Fuentes, gay virgins, and then talk about conservatism. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, people could rise up and get change in this country. Unfortunately, people are unwilling to, but it wouldn't be shooting. It wouldn't just be the shooting, because the warfare has changed now. Instead of just shooting, I'm sure they would deploy some sorts of robotic drones and things that people champion. Oh, look, that's so cool and stuff, until it's deployed on you. They're going to test it out on the blacks first. 1350, put it over there. And then they say, fine, these robot drones work perfect. Now deploy them in Appalachia or any other place that you thought that you were exempt from. Welcome to the police nanny state.
Thing. He did have a permit to carry it. He was clearly there. We hear all the whistles on that one video, right? The whistles people do when they're warning of ICE. He was.
It's funny, the MAGA maniacs, they don't think that whether you call it an insurrection, a riot, however you want to title it, right? They don't think that that was terrorism, but somehow they think that Nicole Good driving in fear for her life away from an ICE agent, that was domestic terrorism. This dude over here trying to save a woman who was being violently assaulted by a Border Patrol agent, him being onto the ground with people having their knee in his back. Somehow he's a terrorist for getting thrown to the ground and pepper sprayed. But the people who's going in, they think this white Jewish dude, Christian dude named Jake Lang, who Trump pardoned, who swung a violent weapon at the Capitol Police, he's pardoned and he's getting paraded around as if he's some sort of bastion of conservatism and morality. They won't call him a terrorist, but they will call people that are protesting. Hey, I get it. You think some of these protesters are annoying and you don't agree with them. Just because someone is annoying and you don't agree with them doesn't make them a domestic terrorist.
They were quick to, post a picture of the gun, which they removed from the crime scene. They put in a car. They said, look at these extra magazines. There was some deplorable act that he was prepared to commit. But they've never actually even said that he did brandish it. And obviously there's no video.
Yeah, I didn't hear this, but yeah, that's pretty much what it would be. If they want to get into a shootout with the general public, that would never happen. But if it did happen, then they would be outnumbered, you know what I mean? However, they wouldn't be outgunned because they would be using heavier firepower and they would be willing to take it to a much more brutal and a heinous fashion by using things like F-16s, where all they need is 1 or 2 pilots that could come and level a few city blocks, So nobody will be worried about getting shot then. You can have all the ammunition that you want, and you dropped a bomb on me, baby.
Evidence that he did any such thing. He did have a permit to carry it. He was clearly there. We hear all the whistles on that one video, right? The whistles people do when they're warning of ICE. He was there trying to protect, it appears, a woman that they pushed over. So, Director McCabe, I'm just curious, though, if there is no investigation, which at this point doesn't appear that there are going to be any indications they are. They're saying case closed and sealed, right? And they don't give access to the state for an investigation, which, again, that would be surprising if they did. They didn't do it with Renee Nicole Good. Then what happens here?
Nothing happens here. Just like nothing happened after.
Yes, Republicans are against the Second Amendment, and just like the NRA, when there used to be open carry in California, and now there's a legal fight right now for them to bring it back, but of course Gavin Newsom doesn't want it, so it was a legal thing to do. So when the Black Panthers went to the Capitol, yes, it was a show of force, and people will think, man, they were dumb. Why they do this? I think that they did get a little bit out of their skis with that. However, they didn't break the law. But Ronald Reagan immediately changed it. And then a bunch of MAGA, gun-toting, don't tread on me maniacs, they were okay with it. And Ronald Reagan is the original MAGA, right? Trump stole and remixed MAGA from Ronald Reagan. So Reagan, he was the one who treaded on your rights. It's funny, right? Because they'll look at the Black Panthers, who was trying to clean up the neighborhood, who was tutoring, giving out free lunch. They'll look at them as a terrorist organization. And because they hated them so much, they allowed Ronald Reagan to infringe on their rights. So when they said that no one can open a carry, they didn't say just the Black Panthers can't open carry. They said no one in California can open carry. And they were like, yeah, those niggers don't get to carry guns in public. It's like, neither do you. So what exactly did you win by that? The Black Panthers wasn't going around terrorizing and shooting white people. There's no instances of that. There are instances of white and non-Black people infiltrating the Black Panthers to bring them down. So the whole domestic terrorism thing, to call Black Panthers that, who want to uplift and enrich their community, but people breaking in and beating officers and defecating in the Capitol, somehow that's not terrorism. I mean, the MAGA maniacs, this is the Republican brain rot, conservative chicanery, even though there's nothing conservative about it.
He was clearly there. We hear all the whistles on that one video, right? The whistles people do when they're warning of ICE. He was there trying to protect, it appears, a woman that they pushed over. So, Director McCabe, I'm just curious, though, if there is no investigation, which at this point doesn't appear that there are going to be any indications they are. They're saying case closed and sealed, right? And they don't give access to the state for an investigation, which, again, that would be surprising if they did. They didn't do it with Renee Nicole Good. Then what happens here?
Nothing.
Yeah, Sunlight. A lot of people are like, oh, my God, this is not the country I grew up in. Yes, it is. This is the country it's always been. Like, we've seen this movie before. Like, this is a rerun over and over. This may be a new hot episode for you, a hot new series for you, but this has always been happening since I've been alive. I don't know why people are confused. This is not the country I grew up in. Yes, it is. It's the same country, and it's always been this way.
Nothing happens here. Just like nothing happened after the killing of Renee Good. You know, in fact, so what we have seen, Aaron, is now we have a very common set of circumstances. We know what the game plan is for the White House and DHS.
And this is why I say both parties are the same, because as much as MAGA is always saying that the left is infringing upon your rights, you lose a lot of rights under MAGA as well. Both parties are the same. And then when the Democrats say, oh, you're losing rights because of Trump's admin, when they get in power, they don't try to overturn anything because they say, oh, well, we don't want to be divisive, because they agree with it. They actually need a lot of the policies so they can fundraise off of them. The Democrats are not running on anything right now. It's just vote for us so we can open back the border, and this is a nation of immigrants, so we're going to protect immigrants. But it's like, yeah, but what about the native born population, the foundational people here? We don't care. This is a nation of immigrants, so that's all they care about. A nation of immigrants, protecting trans rights, and restoring democracy, even though they can't, healthcare is a human right. Just a bunch of buzzwords and slogans that means that they won't do anything. We'll fight for it. And they actually want many of the Republicans to win so they can say, look, we tried to fight for it, but You know, those pesky Republicans, don't blame us, blame them. But send us money. Even though we're all millionaires, send us part of your hard working money. They'll tell us that we can't afford eggs, right? That was a main talking point that both parties used to say. Look at the cost of eggs. Okay, so if you acknowledging that people can't afford eggs, how the hell we gonna afford to spend $50, $100 on your campaign? And then that means that if you're only spending 50, or let's just give you some big bucks and you're spending 500, and meanwhile you got other people spending 50K, 50 million on a campaign, who do you think they're really going to listen to? That's why you got to get money out of politics. But is MAGA pushing for that? Are the small government libertarians, are they pushing for that? And libertarians, all they are just disaffected right wingers. Start talking to them on the issues, they sound like a right winger, except for most a couple fringe issues, and you think, oh, they sound different. No, it's a disaffected right winger. That's it.
Whistles on that one video, right? The whistles people do when they're warning of ICE. He was there trying to protect, it appears, a woman that they pushed over. So, Director McCabe, I'm just curious, though, if there is no investigation, which at this point doesn't appear that there are going to be any indications they are. They're saying case closed and sealed, right? And they don't give access to.
Yes, and when Philando Castile was violently, viciously murdered in front of his wife and kids, that, you know, the Democrats didn't care. The NRA, they weren't standing up to protect his gun rights. The MAGA maniacs, don't tread on my rights. They didn't care. They just like, well, why didn't he just comply? They were justifying it, you know? So it shows you how cold and Christian and heartless they are.
The state for an investigation, which, again, that would be surprising if they did. They didn't do it with Renee Nicole Good. Then what happens here?
Nothing happens here. Just like nothing happened after the killing of Renee Good. You know, in fact, so what we have seen, Aaron, is now we have a very common set of circumstances. We know what the game plan is.
Why not bring a gun to a peaceful protest? Don't tread on my rights. Isn't this what you guys preach? He was at a peaceful protest. So if the law permitted that he was able to legally carry there, he can bring the gun wherever he wants to. If he wants to go to a donut shop with it, if he wants to go to a peaceful protest, if he wants to go to Walmart, he can go there. He was legally able to. So are you pushing for the police state and want his rights infringed upon? What was the point of them saying that this is the law? This is what it requires for you to be able to carry the firearm. He meets all the legal requirements, and now you're saying, dude, bro, don't take it to the protest. Why not?
Is for the White House and DHS. Immediately after the event, they go to the media and they put out a version of events that paints the victim as a domestic terrorist. It's happened to Renee Good. They then said Renee Good's wife.
Yeah, it's crazy because the people say we're a nation of laws, and then to the people that broke the laws and say, hey, well, you broke the laws championing and cheering for me, what I call GAP, glazing and praising me. You feel me? People were glazing Trump like the Krispy Kreme donuts at 5 a.m. fresh off the press. That's what people were doing. And because of that, it worked. He pardoned a bunch of thuggish, violent, obnoxious ruffians, and they're just out amongst people, you know. I'm sure I fear for a lot of the youth that are around these thuggish people. But who raised these people? Whose culture is that? Fair questions to ask that no one seems to have answers to.
Was also a domestic terrorist, which of course neither of them are. And now immediately they say the same thing about this man. And so that's absolutely contrary to any effort to stage a legitimate investigation. You would never have high-ranking officials from the agency involved going out to the public prejudging it. But that's what's happened in every one of these cases.
If he was black, they would be saying who raised him. They would be looking to say if he grew up in a fatherless home. They would be talking to his preschool teachers and say, hey, was he a troubled youth? They'll try to look and see, like, was he autistic, and, you know, all things to paint him in a derogatory manner. But seriously, who raised Alex Pretty? Was he raised in a broken home with two-parent home? Just seriously curious. And also, whose culture is this? Because there were no black people involved. So whose culture is it that Alex Pretty was engaged in? And whose culture is it for multiple Border Patrol officers to unload some hot lead into his body in a fatal manner? Whose culture is this?
The Renee Good case, you actually had the Deputy Attorney General of the United States of America came out on social media, a day after the event, and said there will be no investigation, there was no wrongdoing, there's nothing to investigate here. Essentially offered him a pardon from any accountability for this. And I can tell you that the other officers on the ground in Minneapolis, in Maine, in Chicago, wherever they may be deployed, they hear this loud and clear. And the signal they get is, do whatever you want. There will be no accountability. You can be as violent as you want. You can provoke as many conflicts as you want, as we've seen happen in this case. And there will be no accountability. And people should be very, very concerned about that.
Don't bring a gun anywhere peaceful. Don't bring a gun into your own home. I mean, isn't your home supposed to be a peaceful sanctuary, a very serene place? But that's where most people have their guns. Don't bring a gun to a peaceful place. Oh, you mean like your house?
Anytime there's a law enforcement shooting of any type, there should be a fair, unbiased investigation. That is not happening here.
Well, I mean, I think on the basis of it too, and you talk about the lack of training and professionalism that may have been on display here. When you're surrounded by that many people, right? I mean, when regular people get put into a scrum, you can understand all of the not knowing what's going on, right? But these aren't regular people. These are supposed to be trained law enforcement who know exactly what they're doing in situations like this, right? But that's not what we saw. So,
Not at all.
While I don't condone what happened, I would have to concur. Where I grew up, you see people just strapped up. There's no reason to walk up to them unless you're looking for some sort of conflict. And in that case, you need to meet firepower with firepower. So I would concur with this. You don't walk up to other people who are carrying guns. Now, people will say legally you should be able to, but we're just talking about logically, not legally.
Yeah. So then, I mean, is it possible then that we would look in the case of Renee Nicole Good? We know the name of the individual who shot her. We know they chose not to do an investigation to find out exactly what happened, right? But we know. But
well, according to the MAGA maniacs and the Trump admin, they're framing this as healthcare. This is healthcare because we have the mass agents who fear for their life, even though we gave them more money, newer cars, and more militarized weaponry. They fear for their life. But look, this is helping y'all because now we have less thuggish illegal immigrants roaming the streets. So that will help you, right? So now you don't have to fear for your life. They're framing it as some sort of public safety thing that they're doing, even though there's no mass deportations going on. Trump's numbers are lower than Biden's and lower than Obama. He hates Obama, but Obama was called the deporter in chief. Trump is failing at his goal of mass deportations. All he's doing is very controversial and theatrical deportations to make it appear as if, oh my God, we've never seen this before. This is the Gestapo. No, it's not. Tom Homan, the same dude that Trump appointed, was under Obama, and he was more effective under Obama. They were deported millions and millions, and Trump is nowhere even sniffing a million. Even though he had a lofty goal of deporting 1 million people per year, he's nowhere close to that. So he has to do all of these theatrics to make it appear as if he's putting the hammer down on immigration. He's closed the border. Okay, he's closed the border, but there's numbers that Biden let anywhere from 10 to 30. Some would say 50 million illegal aliens over the course of these Democratic administrations. So let's just go with a reasonable number. Let's just say 10 million illegal undocumented aliens in the country, right? And Trump is deported less than 1 million of them, not even 500,000. So where are the mass deportations going on? All it is incompetence. Is it because he hired a bunch of affirmative action DEI hires? Is it because of low IQ, or is it because of poor training?
In this case, we may never actually even. Well, I mean, I think on the basis of it too, and you talk about the lack of training and professionalism that may have been on display here when you're surrounded by that many people, right? I mean, when regular people get put into a scrum, you can understand all of the not knowing what's going on, right? But these aren't regular people. These are supposed to be trained law enforcement who know exactly what they're doing in situations like this, right? But that's not what we saw. So, you know,
Not at all.
Yeah. So then, I mean, is it possible then that we would?
I would have to concur with this. If you're being attacked by an unidentified masked gunman, that does seem to be fearing for your life. Now, if they're coming in an armored vehicle, knowing they have backup and dogs and drones and chemical agents, I mean, what would you be fearful of? Like you have all of the weaponry and artillery that you need, and you are the aggressor. So what are you afraid of? Now, if someone is just jumping out on me, oh, damn, they got a gun and a mask, man, who is this person? I mean, I would fear for my life and trying to protect myself. Who knows what I would do, you know? I mean, it may be a shot fired, a stab, who knows? I mean, you can't predict the future, and fear has you do crazy things, right? Fight or flight.
Look, in the case of Renee Nicole Good, we know the name of the individual who shot her. We know they chose not to do an investigation to find out exactly what happened, right? But we know. But in this case, we may never actually even know because it's unclear in that scrum who shot or how many people shot. The only thing we know for sure is that Alex Priddy, who was killed, was not one of the people who shot.
That's absolutely right. And there's no indication that we'll ever get to the bottom of this. Because, you know, as I've said, the administration has proven in all prior events that they are perfectly comfortable going out and deliberately misleading the public as to what's happening on the ground in Minneapolis. Convicting people for domestic terrorism before they've ever been presented a single piece of evidence. How about the photograph of Nakima Anderson, who the White House admitted they intentionally altered the photograph to make her look worse at the moment of her arrest. Yeah. It's unbelievable. We've never seen this from any other administration that I'm familiar with at any other time in our history. We've never seen this level of violent conduct by law enforcement against the citizenry be completely ignored and swept under the rug by the administration. It should be troubling to every American.
And this is where I have to stop this dude. Unfortunately, both sides are lying, and the Democrats are lying as well, acting as if this has never been seen. And I have to give y'all some scholarship where he's saying we've never seen this type of violence, state-sanctioned violence from other admins. Actually, we have. Many people have been born prior to 1985, right? In 1985, there was a Black liberation group called MOVE. Look this up. Let's give y'all some scholarship before I proceed, because a lot of people are acting like, what country are we living in? This has never happened before. Yes, it's happened multiple times before. Just because you don't know your history doesn't mean that it didn't happen. The MOVE bombing, May 13th, 1985. Following a standoff with the Black Liberation Group, the Philadelphia police, state sanctioned. The police are a government body, right? We want small government, but you want to give the police more money. Okay, that's not a small government. Okay. So the Philadelphia Police Department dropped a C4 based bomb from a helicopter. This was in 85. Now, since they haven't done it then, it's because they don't have to. Everyone is in line, but this is showing their willingness to do it. If they would do it in 85, you think that they won't do it in 2026? What has changed? You know what I mean? Now they don't have to because they have other means to deploy that they don't have to drop a bomb. But this shows their willingness. Some of y'all parents wasn't even born in 1985. So in 1985, the Philadelphia Police Department dropped a C-4 based bomb from a helicopter onto a residential row house. The city officials ordered the fire department to let the fire burn. So they could have come and put it out. And actually the fire department did come and they said, nah, just let it burn out. Right. So they told, this is all state sanctioned. The fire department is a governing body. They do what the government tells them. So not only did the police drop a bomb onto a black row house in a black neighborhood, they instructed the fire department, just let it burn out. This blast killed 11 people. 11 people, including 5 children. All of the pro-lifers, they didn't give a damn. Is babies in there? So what? Let them burn. It destroyed 61 homes and left 250 people homeless. So this was in America. Oh my God, this has never happened here before. Oh, fine, I'll go before that. That was in 85. What about Kent State? Did y'all forget about Kent State? During a protest, when the protesters were protesting the Vietnam War, the Ohio National Guard opened fire on unarmed students. They fired 67 rounds in 13 seconds. In this incident, tragically, with Alex Pretty, they fired about 10 shots or 10 to 11 shots in less than 10 seconds. In the Kent State shooting, 67 rounds fired in 13 seconds. They killed 4 students and wounded 9. Now, the state initially blamed the students. So not only did they kill them, they were victim blaming. You guys are not victims. Stop blaming, even though we shot you, right? Stop acting like victims. So they had a Scranton commission, which later concluded that not only were the shootings unnecessary, they were unwarranted and inexcusable. So I've already given you the Move bombing in 1985. Y'all can look this up. I'm giving y'all scholarship. Some of you already may know it. Some of you may have forgot. So this is a refresher course. Kent State, May 4th, 1970. Also, the Attica prison, September 13th, 1971. Now, the prisoners had took over the correctional facility. They were demanding better conditions. And as much as people talk about the ICE detention centers, the people in prison, they would be ecstatic to live in those centers. So the New York State Police and the National Guard troops, they stormed the prison. And this was under the governor, the orders of the governor, Nelson Rockefeller. They fired indiscriminately, which means they just went in there and just start shooting. Some call it spray and pray. They fired indiscriminately. They killed 39 people. That included 29 inmates and 10 hostages. So some of the inmates were taking hostages and they were saying, look, we got these hostages. We're demanding better conditions. They said, we don't give a damn. And they killed them and the hostages. So this has happened. There's other instances and I can go on, but people need to stop with the lie because these people are supposed to be the high IQs. They've went and got a prestigious Ivy League education. So it shouldn't be me telling you this. This should be them. The fact that they're not telling you this is a lie by omission to act like, oh my God, we've never seen anything like that. Look at this dude. He has gray hair. So he was probably around during these occurrences that I talked about. And now he's pretending that he don't know about the instances during his childhood or during his upbringing. It's just, oh no, this is a new state of the country. We've never seen this. You're really supposed to believe that right now is worse than Jim Crow when they were actively saying with their chest, no niggers allowed. But now somehow, oh my God, white people are being killed. We've never seen anything like this. Like, give me a break. So I'm going to play this and then I'm going to transition into the Dana Bash. She's going to talk to the Border Patrol, the head of Border Patrol. We'll get his perspective. I think she asked them at least some decent questions. So this video will be wrapping up soon.
Deliberately misleading the public as to what's happening on the ground in Minneapolis. Convicting people for domestic terrorism before they've ever been presented a single piece of evidence. How about the photograph of Nakima Anderson, who the White House admitted they intentionally altered the photograph to make her look worse at the moment of her arrest. Yeah. It's unbelievable. We've never seen this from any other administration that I'm familiar with at any other time in our history. We've never seen this level of violent conduct by law enforcement against the citizenry be completely ignored and swept under the rug by the administration. It should be troubling to every American, no matter where you are on the political spectrum. You should not be comfortable watching public servants act like this and commit these acts of violence and suffer no repercussion for it.
Director McCabe, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Okay, so that was that video. So let me just go ahead and pull up the other one. Just give me uno momento. And he says, MAGA is beginning to cave. People realize they are totally deranged. Yeah, that's why I call them the MAGA maniacs. And I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm independent. All of us should be independent. You can vote for Republican or Democrat if they are aligned with your interests, but you have to make them vie for your vote. You have to make them do quid pro quo, right? Don't just blindly and aimlessly give them your vote, because Elon and all of the oligarchs, they vote based contingent upon you're giving them something. That here, you give us something, give us all of these credits for SpaceX, and then I'll vote and put hundreds of millions behind you, right? For Elon, it was a good investment. He put hundreds of millions into Trump's campaign, and now he's a alleged trillionaire, right? So, but I don't know why any person would champion that on, especially if you're like a young white man and you think that Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire somehow is going to help. And he's saying, we need more white babies. White people are going extinct. So how does Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire help the white community? It doesn't, especially when he's trying to replace you with a bunch of H-1B visas who look like Vivek Ramaswamy and Dinesh D'Souza.
Now is U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino. Thank you for being here. Sir, you are still in Minneapolis, and I want to get to a lot of questions that we have that are unanswered. First and foremost is that Alex Pretty approached Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I want to go back to one of the videos, and I know you can see it there, and I want to ask you about what you're seeing, because multiple angles of this incident show him holding up a cell phone and recording it, not a gun. Did he at any point pull out his weapon?
Dana, good morning, and thanks for having me. The weapon, and we do know that the suspect did bring a weapon, a loaded 9mm high-capacity handgun, to a riot. We do know that. As far as what happened in that intervening moment with the video that you just showed, that's going to come to light through the investigation. That's being investigated, and those facts and those questions will be answered soon enough.
Okay, but the Homeland Security Secretary is not waiting for that investigation to take place before saying that Alex Pretty was, quote, brandishing a weapon. Let's go to video 7, because, of course, you know this far better than I. The definition of brandishing is waving or flourishing something, especially a weapon, as a threat or in anger and excitement. That's just a still photo of what Alex Pretty appears to be holding. There is nothing that we have seen that showed him, as Secretary Noem said, brandishing a weapon. Have you, sir, seen something different to support what the secretary said?
Dan, I think what we need to take a look at here is the situation in its totality. What happened leading up to this situation? The suspect decided to inject himself into a law enforcement action. What's not being said here is the fact that Border Patrol agents and law enforcement were conducting a targeted law enforcement effort against a violent, illegal alien that was nearby, and that suspect injected himself into that law enforcement situation with a weapon. And what happened between when that situation first came about and the shooting, that's going to be investigated, and we're going to get to the facts of that.
Well, you said yesterday that this looks like a situation where the individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. What evidence do you have that he wanted to massacre law enforcement? Because all the videos that we have, and I do want to, we just have a still shot up now, but I do, control room, want to play one of the other videos. Let's play video number 1 again. It doesn't look anything like he's trying to massacre law enforcement. In fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement, and then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in...
Okay, so right there, now we have to kill that narrative. He just said that they were sufficiently trained and that they were greatly trained. So if he's saying they were greatly trained, were they doing what they were trained to do? And are they trained to terrorize the citizens, to shoot the citizens fatally? Because this was multiple officers that shot. So he's praising their training while others are trying to give them passes and say, no, it was just a training issue. They didn't know what they were doing. So this isn't incompetence. I ask, is this incompetence or is this intentional? This seems to be intentional in terms of what he's saying, that, hey, their training was perfectly fine. So if their training was fine, he's not saying that they broke protocol. He's not saying that they had great training and there was a mishap. That's why I asked, was this a mishap or was this murder? Now, but I won't definitively say that it's murder. Others will. Let's just say that it was a homicide. That's factually right. But could this have been avoided with proper training? He's saying that they were properly trained. Let's run that back.
Law enforcement, in fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement, and then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in taking him down before he was able to do that. And again, Dana, let's look at why he was there in the first place. Was he simply walking by and just happened to walk into a law enforcement situation and try to direct traffic and stand in the middle of the road and then assault, delay, and obstruct law enforcement? Or was he there for a reason? Did he fall victim to that violent and heated rhetoric by a Mayor Fry, a Governor Waltz? Look, Dana, they're trying to portray Border Patrol agents and ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazi, and many other words. Did this individual fall victim, as many others have, to that type of heated rhetoric?
I want to stay focused on this incident right now, because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him, when he was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that, that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dana, first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't
Dana,
impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason, and that reason was to impede law enfortement to the point.
What evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation techniques, whether it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after.
You gotta be trolling with this comment. Trump is the only one not beholden to his donors. Trump is a puppet. Trump already was, every time Bibi Netanyahu comes over, Trump bends the knee. Trump is definitely beholden to Israeli Zionist lobby money. And it's not only them. I know a lot of people like to make a lot about AIPAC, but it's not just them. It's all of them. They're all colluding with each other. So to act like Trump is not beholden to his donors as if he's just some sort of benevolent figure. No, he's a bozo, right? No different than any of these other presidents, right? A well-paid, highly notarized puppet.
After a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work. Officers always try to use the minimum amount of force necessary to either effect an arrest, which in this case was more than likely 18 U.S.C. 111, assault on a federal officer, or
Where did he assault a federal officer in any of the video that you have seen? Because it looked to us from every angle, sir, that.
Yeah, could anyone tell me when he assaulted the officers? Because there's this growing narrative that the officers, they feared for their life and it was self-defense because they got assaulted. Could y'all tell me at what point y'all see the officers get assaulted? I didn't see that. And again, if he was assaulted, how was he assaulting them when they had him pinned to the ground? They're saying he was resisted. So if someone is pinned to the ground and because they don't stay completely still like a statue, suddenly that means resistance and you should be shot fatally.
He was approached by them when he was helping another individual who was pushed down. What evidence do you have that he was assaulting any law enforcement?
Dana, we don't need a suspect's help in an active law enforcement scene.
When you say suspect, what is he
didn't ask
suspected
his
of?
help. That's an active law enforcement scene. He knew that was an active law enforcement scene, especially when the officers approached him, and it's very evident he did not need to be where he was.
So
and he
when
decided
somebody
on his own to stay there.
So when somebody is pushed down and a person's instinct is to help that person, when somebody's pushed down by law enforcement, you're saying that you just stand back and let law enforcement do what they're doing? I mean, is that really human nature?
Dana, every situation is different. What our officers are faced with here in Minneapolis are chaotic, very difficult and violent situations in which individuals, and this suspect is not the only one to bring a loaded weapon to a riot. The situations are chaotic and ever-changing. Follow directions for law enforcement.
I will say this is a fair question. Where's the local police? Why aren't they doing their job and arresting these people, keeping ICE from doing their job? Well, if they're being run by people like Tim Walz and the other stooge that's a mayor, you could kind of understand. It seems to be incompetence everywhere. Incompetence with ICE and Border Patrol, and incompetence in the leadership positions in Minnesota. So when that happens, you get a cluster flop.
Don't inject yourself knowingly beforehand into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that.
Here we go again. First, ICE are victims. Now, Border Patrol are victims. It sounds like you're scared. And if you're scared, go to church, get a desk job, take up basket weaving or something. because they keep talking about they fear for their life. Then you put a gun in their hand. I'm still scared. All right, well, here's 2 other officers. I'm still scared. Here's an armored truck. I'm still scared. Here's some grenades and some chemical agents. I'm still scared. Like, bruh, this ain't the profession for you if you're just gonna be whining all the time about how fearful you are when you got like 30 rounds, that you're looking down barrel. This is wild.
Different. What our officers are faced with here in Minneapolis are chaotic, very difficult and violent situations in which individuals, and this suspect is not the only one to bring a loaded weapon to a riot. The situations are chaotic and ever changing. Follow directions for law enforcement. Don't inject yourself knowingly beforehand into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents there.
I want to go back to the gun.
Yeah, Trump does want the chaos because when you talk to many people, that's why they had, I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump. So the Latinos, they was like, sure, man, we don't love Trump, even though he called us rapists, even though he was saying build the wall, because there's no monolithic group called Hispanic or Latino. It's just something that they lumped together and created for the census. Cubans don't have the same interests as Venezuelans. Hondurans don't have the same interests as Mexicans. Mexicans don't have the same interests as Puerto Ricans, right? But they're lumped together and just Hispanic, Latino, as if they're just all just one monolithic group. So many of them voted for this. When Trump said mass deportations, a lot of Latinos was like, see. They were happy about it. That's why many of the Border Patrol officers, Latino, many of the ICE operators, Latino. So many of them wanted this. They just wanted a more sanitized version. That's all.
Sir, because I think this is really
knowingly beforehand into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents. The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents there.
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because I think this is really.
Biden didn't release the files because there's many Democrats in there. As if I said both parties are the same. So I'm sure there were some independent pedos in there, some Democratic pedos, maybe even some Green Party pedos, but there are definitely some Republican pedos in there. Both parties are the same. They play on the same team in the same league. It's just like the Warriors and the Lakers, right? Yeah, they play against each other as rivals head to head, but they're not going to do things to undermine the NBA, the league that they play in. So yeah, both parties are part of the establishment. The establishment is the league that they play in. They're not going to do anything to upend or, kind of subvert that.
Critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which it seems as though it was Preddy's gun, that happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed. That's freeze frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
So we're looking, what did he do to resist arrest? You can see the frame right here. He's surrounded by these low impulse controls, incompetent imbeciles, right? So where is the resistance? Maybe because his legs are moving. Maybe he should have did like a statue and, you know, he should act like he didn't have a pulse. Where was the resistance, though? Could you clarify that, Red Hood? Let me rewind it back a little bit. Did y'all see the resistance or what? So essentially what you're saying, Red Hood, is why didn't he just comply? Didn't do nothing. Got you. Where have I heard that before?
A gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which it seems as though it was Pretty's gun, that happened before Pretty was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't
Oh, my
know he
bad. I
was
was on
unarmed.
mute. I said, let's just say hypothetically he did resist arrest. Resisting arrest is not a death sentence. I don't think he resisted arrest, but let's just say that he did. Hypothetically, there's no law that says if you resist arrest, you get executed.
I don't know he was unarmed.
And then this person says, you can't pull a gun on cops. Duh. And this is extremely moronic comment. I don't know if you thought it through. He didn't pull a gun on cops. Ironically, the cop pulled his gun. You can't pull a gun on a cop. But the cop pulled his gun, and like an imbecile, incompetent, he ran off and it allegedly accidentally discharged. So he didn't pull his gun. Do you not know the law? Clearly you don't. No one pulled a gun on the cops. Damn, man. You seem to be mentally handicapped, so I'm not even gonna insult you any further than that. I'll just pray for you.
That's freeze frame.
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because I think this is really, really critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video.
This, I can't answer why he was on the scene. I wouldn't have been on the scene, you know. And Captain Ridiculous, I don't know if this is a ridiculous question or if you're genuinely asking this question, because we have had a lot of trolls in this stream. If he wasn't an illegal immigrant, and an illegal immigrant wouldn't be out there protesting because they're illegal, obviously they wouldn't be out there protesting because they're not going to risk their livelihood of getting caught up. The people out there protesting are people who are legal immigrants and legal residents. Yeah, because just logically, if you're illegal, you would be hiding right now. So instead of cherry picking which part of the timeline best suits you, ask yourself, why was he even there on the scene? So I don't know if you're speaking generally, or you talking to me, because I didn't cherry pick anything. I've played an extensive amount of video from both sides, and clearly this is both sides. Dana is questioning him, and this is the Border Patrol, and they're breaking down the video in real time. So I don't know if you're speaking generally or if you're directing this at me. So if you can clarify that. Why was he even there on the scene? You would have to ask him, but he's not here to say why he was on the scene, you know? So I wouldn't have been out there because I don't believe it's my fight. However, this is my concern because I'm an American citizen, and this was a unjust and what I believe a unlawful, unnecessary, inexcusable shooting. So that's why it's my concern, because I don't support the police in the nanny state. And I actually don't want people treading and infringing on my rights, unlike some maniacs that only, you know, seem to care about that when they talk about BLM and George Floyd. It's like, bro, it's 2026. Why are you still mentioning BLM?
5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Pretty, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun.
So Do It says they're not trained. So if they're not trained, are you saying that they're incompetent? Are they not trained just because the training was insufficient, or were they trained and they just had a low IQ so they didn't comprehend the training? Which one do you believe it is? They're not trained. There's a point in a confrontation as a police officer that you have to de-escalate. They're not trained. Well, they are trained in de-escalation tactics, right? You can train people to do a bunch of things. It's only a matter of application and the will to apply that, right? There's many people that are trained in various forms of mixed martial arts, right? Doesn't mean you're going to do every move that you were trained to do or every procedure that you were trained to do. So I'm sure they were trained to de-escalate things, but you know, they're also trained to for them all to shoot, which is why multiple officers shot one man who they say they feared for their life. A dude who looked extremely frail. He looked extremely nice, right? He looked like you would go have some tea, crumpets, and avocado toast with him, right? But they want to paint this dude as some just savage ruffian, you know, who was deranged and had it out to kill Border Patrol, but that's not what I see. That's not what you see either. So
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because I think this is really, really critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here.
and comments like this is so low IQ. First of all, look at your profile picture. You don't even have a profile picture that properly represents you, right? That you've lost reality just with your profile picture, Leslie Little, and there's no way that you can challenge me intellectually. However, if you were going to challenge me, you would need to say, hey, look, this person talking said this, and this is why they lost reality. Explain what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're just rambling, babbling, blathering incoherently. You're not intellectually formidable to challenge me, and change that profile picture. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took...
He didn't want people treading on his rights. That's why he was there with a gun. I mean, do you support gun control? Do you support censorship? You support the Constitution, right? So he was practicing his right to bear arms. Like, why is this even a question? Why was he there with a gun? Because it was his right. Duh.
Really critical. You can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which seems as though it was Preddy's gun, that happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed. That's freeze frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
I think you can see the screen.
In the investigation. We're not going to adjudicate that here on TV in one freeze frame there.
Okay, it's not a freeze frame. We're showing a video of one of your agents taking the gun away, and that happened before Preddy was shot.
We don't know that agent was taking any gun away. That could have been the agents, because we don't know that. The facts are going to come to light.
So you're disputing the video that that's what happened?
With an investigation. That's why we investigate.
Well, with respect, you say that's why we investigate, but you're also drawing other conclusions that sort of fly in the face of waiting for an investigation. I just want to also go back to what I was asking about with regard to what Secretary Noem said, that he was brandishing a gun. At any...
So Antoinette says, such an unfortunate situation. When will we learn? Violence is not the answer. Now I hear that, and this is a thoughts and prayers type comment. If violence is not the answer, what is the answer? a strongly worded letter, thoughts and prayer. So when someone is violently attacking you and beating the living snot out of you, violence is not the answer. Turn the other cheek. Okay, what is the answer when someone is getting brutally shot, maimed, beaten in a barbaric, heinous fashion? What is the answer? Whisper sweet nothings in their ear? Write a poem or a haiku? Since violence is not the answer, Antoinette, could you please enlighten the people? What is the answer?
Point. Do you have any evidence that yes, he had a gun on his person? Was he brandishing it? Was he a threat because he had a gun in his hand that put law enforcement in danger?
Danny, we heard the law enforcement officer say gun, gun, gun. So at some point, they knew there was a gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation as to what was happening on the ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect.
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the MAGA maniacs that are trying to justify this. On one hand, they'll say that they want a small government, but they keep wanting to fund the police. So to like militarize proportions. And then they're just wondering, and then now they're making an excuse for them carrying this out on American citizens. But as long as it didn't happen to them or happen to their political ideology, they're okay with it. But it just didn't happen to you today. But you lay the groundwork and the precedence so that it will happen to you tomorrow. And then there will be no one for you to complain to. You just have to blame it on yourself.
Walls say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying it's not okay for him to exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to carry a gun? And if you do, you can be shot by federal law enforcement?
This I didn't hear, but if you have any type of reporting on it, let me know. I'll look into it. Did they find a cache of guns in an ICE truck that is for planting guns? I don't have any way to verify this. However, if this did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. They've already perfected it going against Black liberation groups like MOVE, Black Panthers, etc. Look up COINTELPRO. Now, they were going against other groups, very fringe groups, the hippies and some Native American groups, but their predominant focus was on Black Americans. And like J. Edgar Hoover, who has a Hoover FBI building, said, and I'm paraphrasing, that they would actively prevent a Black Messiah that would be able to rise up and empower the people and essentially waken the people up. They said they would make sure that that person never is allowed to come to power. And that's why you see a lot of wiretaps, assassinations, smear campaigns, etc., etc. But people believe everything the FBI says now because they didn't try to assassinate any of their leaders. Oh, they try to assassinate them Blacks. Who cares, man? It's the niggas, right? But then if they try to assassinate someone for your community, then it's like, oh my God, what type of country are we living in? The same country where you turned a blind eye to when they were doing this to Black people. You know, so it is what it is.
There's a gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation as to what was happening on the.
And this person keeps saying, Wesley, you need to listen to Fox News. Fox News and CNN are the same. CNN is telling a bunch of lies. Fox News is telling a bunch of lies. All you're trying to do is tell which lie is more appropriate. I don't support CNN. It's a propaganda mill. Same as MSNBC, aka MS Now. Same as News Nation. Same as OAN, same as Fox News. They're all legacy established media. There's only a handful of people that own all of these media conglomerates. They're all going to toe the corporate line of the establishment. They all are Israeli first. So while you're saying that the Democrats, this is the Democrats' propaganda, okay, and Fox News is the Republicans' propaganda. So all you're doing is just catering towards another level of propaganda. Partisan propaganda. I don't support either one of them. I'm an independent. So I'll listen to both sides and I'll make my own deduction of the facts.
The ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect.
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor Walz say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying it's not okay for him to exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to...
Yeah, Ashley Babbitt, the lady that was unarmed was shot in the Capitol building on January 6th. But like the people like to say, why didn't she just comply? You know, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. She won a stupid prize, unfortunately. However, all of the fiscal conservatives, they had no problem of her family being paid. Here's that word again, reparations. Oh, no, we're against reparations. Oh, unless you're going to give it to some white criminal, because that's what she was doing. She was engaging in a criminal act. She's a veteran. Okay. She was a veteran engaging in criminal acts. So now reparations were paid out to her family, but her family wasn't shot. Isn't that what they say? You weren't a slave. Yeah, but you didn't pay the slave. So since you didn't pay the slave, the debt goes on to their heirs. Her family wasn't shot and killed, but because the debt wasn't allegedly paid to her, it goes to her heirs. People understand it. It just only gets confusing in quantum physics when it comes to a particular group. But yes, Ashley Babbitt was a criminal, and unfortunately, she didn't comply. And she was fatally shot. I wish she was still here. I wish she didn't go down that path, but you know, you do the time, or you get pumped full of lead, unfortunately.
A gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation as to what was happening on the ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect.
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor Walz say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying it's not okay for him?
Honestly, it's to the point where if right now, if some of the MAGA maniacs said they wanted some lemonade, Trump would probably pee in their mouth and they'll say, yes, this is the Minute Maid I grew up on. Like, you know what I mean? That's how delusional they are. They talk about Trump derangement syndrome, but I think that works both ways.
To exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to carry a gun. And if you do, you can be shot by federal law enforcement?
No, I didn't say that, Dana. I never said that. What I'm saying is
if these officers are fearing for their lives, isn't that what they signed up for? It's almost like you sign up for the Navy, Marines, Air Force, anything, and you talk about fearing for your life. Well, that's kind of what you signed up for. You know, like nobody wants to hear about that. You have every right to fear for your life. It's just people don't care. If you're scared, go to church, take up basket weaving, take some home economic cooking classes, volunteer at your local library or cat shelter. Don't sign up to be in the line of fire if you're fearful. And if you're fearful, just get over it. Nobody wants to hear how fearful you are every day.
respect that Second Amendment right, but those rights don't count when you riot and assault, delay, obstruct, and impede law enforcement officers, and most especially when you mean to do that beforehand.
How do you know that?
When you mean to do that beforehand, when you show up to an active crime scene, don't leave the crime scene and you're armed, then, you've got the decision-making process for that individual doesn't seem to be very good. Now, back to the Second Amendment, what you're saying about the Second Amendment is peacefully protesting with firearms. Absolutely, I've done that myself and fully support that, but not when you perpetrate violence, obstruct, delay, or obfuscate Border Patrol in the performance of their duties in an
There's
active
no
crime
evidence
scene.
that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully.
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he came there beforehand.
How do you
for
know that?
a reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he
Because
was doing
there.
was filming and
It's very
documenting
evident.
it, which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis
I didn't
is
say
legal.
it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then
But
what did he do that
cannot
was illegal?
assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime
Where do you
scene
see in the video that
he
he was
decided to enter into.
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions.
So you see how he obfuscates and dodges the question. She asks him a clear and direct question. Where in the video do you see? Because just like some of the trolls in the chat saying, you can't pull out a gun, you can't assault law enforcement. Yeah, we know that you can't, but he didn't pull out a gun and he didn't assault law enforcement. Yeah, he did. Okay, cool. Show me. Look, we have the footage up. Could you show me at what point he assaulted them? And then they can't do that. And now instead of, she asks him a clear question. Where and when did he assault the officer? And now he's just going to go into this rambling answer and pretend as if he's standing up for law enforcement and border patrol agents who are under attack. No, they're not under attack. And if they are under attack, they have a lot of backup. They have a lot of firepower to repel anyone that's attacking them. Meanwhile, they want to disarm the citizens and say, well, all you need is your cell phone to call a cop. Yeah, by the time the cop get there, I will already have my head blown off. So I need the firepower that y'all have. So only border patrol people are fearing for their life. So they'll have guns, dogs, drones, grenades, chemical agents, and they fear for their life. Meanwhile, I'm living in a notorious neighborhood and I should be not fearful and I shouldn't have any firearms because of gun control. Don't fear for your life. I mean, you're around your own people where they're around their own people. Mostly people around there were white. Like, where was the fear? Where did it come from?
No evidence that he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully.
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he came there beforehand.
How do you know that?
For a reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he was doing was filming and documenting it, which is legal. He was carrying.
Yeah, this gets pretty pathetic. You got 3 to 5 agents with you and all of you guys are trembling saying, I fear for my life. I fear for my life. Like, choose another profession.
Carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis
I didn't
is
say
legal.
it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then what did he do that was illegal?
Assault federal law enforcement when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime scene.
Where do you see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there.
Definitely. First of all, Captain Ridiculous, where'd your family immigrate from? Because clearly English is not your strong suit. So you're an immigrant. Clearly your family was fleeing failure. That's why they come here. They weren't succeeding where they were. That's why they came here. So have some respect. You know what I mean? But why do the blacks still think they are the main territory in America? Huh? Like, what are you trying to say? Let me guess, it was a typo. But if it was a typo, why didn't you proofread it and make sure that you typed a clear, coherent comment? They still think they are the main territory in America, but I guess when you're perpetually broke and always a victim, it's easy to cry out, me, me, me. It's crazy because right now it's a bunch of white people who, according to you, are high IQ and they're not perpetually broke. Tucker Carlson, is he perpetually broke? Guess what Tucker Carlson is crying about? White people, whites this and whites that. We need more white babies, white replacement theory. Sounds like a victim. JD Vance, whites are being replaced, white babies. Sounds like a victim. Elon Musk. And all of these people are playing identity politics, crying out me, white. Where have you been? Elon Musk is saying that whites are going extinct. Elon Musk is the richest person in the entire planet, and he's complaining about whites going extinct. So your name, Captain Ridiculous, you sound like Captain Retarded. So yeah, try again, bro.
Enter into.
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that.
Wesley, you've been running off a multitude of idiotic, moronic comments in the chat, but I will concur with this one. I'm not going to say everyone, but there are a lot of paid protesters out there. And yeah, there's a lot of NGOs that fund a lot of these things. There are people that genuinely do want to see change and are fighting against the injustice. But I will say a large contingent are paid protesters. But it's within people's legal right to be a protester, whether they're paid or not.
And, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
I want to go back to video number 1 because you keep saying that he injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He was far away. He wasn't on the crime scene. And what I want you to see again is that law enforcement appears by the video we have to be approaching him and the person who is next to him, not the other way around. And so what I want to know is what evidence do you have that
they executed a man for simply having a gun on him, which is not a crime. His only crime was filming them, which they couldn't stand. And like I said, not only do they fear for their life, they're so emotionally unhinged and have such low impulse control that they get triggered by people filming them. Choose another profession. As much as we just had the Captain Retarded dude in the chat, he's talking about, why are you acting like a victim? Meanwhile, he's cheering on the ICE and the Border Patrol agents acting like victims. They have guns that hold 30 rounds, 50 rounds, grenades, armed to the T, but yet they're victims.
went after law enforcement?
Sure. The fact that he was standing in the middle of the road, there was interaction between him, the bystanders, and law enforcement, and again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be in the middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians.
And looks like Captain Retarded is living up to his name. You knuckleheads talking about a possible civil war are hilarious. Literally no one is talking about a civil war. When y'all hear people talking about a civil war, it's people that look like this idiot. It's your community that's talking about a civil war. And by you bringing this up, you're talking about it more. You're saying it's hilarious, but you just keep bringing it up. Literally nobody is talking about a civil war except for the MAGA maniacs, the Proud Boys, the Patriot Front, Oath Keepers. Bunch of you like disaffected incels and cucks, you know what I mean? Many of you, your wives got railed from behind and the front and the side by BBC, so you hate black people even though they done nothing to you. The people who are mistreating you look like you. The people who are making it so that you can't afford a home look like you, and you're blaming people who don't look like you. Not only are you a retard, you're a coward as well. But there's never going to be a civil war in this country. So if there's never going to be a civil war, why are you making whiny comments like this? There's never going to be a civil war. So I'm going to make a comment whining about civil war. This doesn't even make any sense. Low IQ, low impulse control, imbecile. So also it says there's never going to be a civil war in this country of any magnitude, 1 or 10. The entire economy would cease to exist overnight. So if it would cease to exist and a civil war is an idiotic idea and no black Americans are calling for civil war, why are you even talking about it? The knuckleheads that you're referring to look like you. You literally have a knucklehead, bro. You have a knucklehead, and it's people that look like you that are constantly whining. They're replacing us. We need more white babies. White men are under attack. We're victims. You guys are the ones talking about civil war. You guys are the knuckleheads, bro. Grow a set, man. Stop acting like a whiny little hoe. No one is attacking you, Captain Retard. Like, you're not an enemy. Like, literally, no one is trying to attack you, bro. Chill. And actually, you know what? Hey, for Captain Retard, I gotta hit you.
You know what, nigga? You acting like a little bitch right now. You acting like a little bitch right now, nigga. Man, fuck that. I ain't letting that shit ride.
In the middle of a crime scene, injecting themselves into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again, do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Yeah, again, the officers on the ground, in that melee, we hear gun, gun, gun. So that gun, at some point, became visible to officers.
But could it have been because they had him on the ground and maybe his shirt came up and they saw that it was on him? That doesn't mean that he was.
So Ida Maria says this is what happened with Adolf. I know because I'm Swedish and my grandmother is a Jew that fled Germany during World War II. Be safe and flee to Scandinavia if you have to, because this is only the start. Okay, well, thanks for giving us that warning. I mean, I'm sure people like the Captain Retard in the chat, he probably will flee, him and Wesley and some of these other MAGA maniacs and buck broken bigoted. But I'm from a different lineage and we sink with the ship. Foundational Black American freedmen. We don't flee, we fight. And if the ship sinks, we're sinking with it.
And that is why we have an investigation, Dana.
Fine.
That is what we are investigating. You're not going to know that now, and I'm not going to know that
I think an investigation is great, but the Homeland Security Secretary said he was branded.
Hey, you might want to make some merch out of this, Labo. Otherwise, I might have to take it off your hands. You can't fix stupid, but you can sell it a red hat. That's true. People put on that red hat and it just turns them into a complete, utter, blathering, blundering imbecile.
Brandishing a weapon. Do you have evidence that we haven't seen that he was brandishing a weapon?
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers, and at some point they.
And don't trip, I'm gonna rewind it back. But here he goes lying again. He keeps saying that he assaulted officers, and when she asks him, okay, at what point did he assault the officers? He just keeps saying, you can't assault officers. Okay, we understand that, but at what point did he assault the officers? You just can't do that, man. They fear for their life. Okay, we get that, but what point did he assault the officer? And he can't point to it. So this dude is just up here lying right now. But let's rewind it back.
In law enforcement. And again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be in the middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians in the middle of a crime scene injecting themselves into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again, do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Yeah, again, the officers on the ground.
Okay. Did the Black Panthers ever storm the Capitol? They wanted an all-out war, but did they storm the Capitol? So the Black Panthers allegedly wanted an all-out war with the government by having free lunch programs, tutoring, mentoring, health clinics. They wanted an all-out war with the government, but somehow a bunch of MAGA maniacs storming the Capitol, beating cops, assaulting them violently. That wasn't an assault against the government. That wasn't an insurrection. Don't call it an insurrection. It just was a misunderstanding. Okay, and let's just say the Black Panthers did want an all-out war against the government. Wouldn't that be equal? They didn't, but let's just say that they did. The government was warring against them. The government was attacking them. This country believes in an eye for an eye. They were taking many of our eyes. So logically, shouldn't we have been warring against the government? But Black Panthers weren't warring against the government. So when you're talking about whitewashing, you're trying to whitewash what many of your fellow maniacs did on January 6th. That was an attack against the government. Someone standing up for the liberation of their community is not an attack on the government, but that's how they always see it, right? They see black gangs, that's just your culture. But then when you stand up and say, hey, we're against the gangs, we want to enrich and educate our people and all this stuff, you're a communist. Like, huh? Like, no, we just want to be treated equally and fairly. It always has to be something, you know. It's funny, they always say, well, what about Chicago? But they don't call the gang members terrorists, but then they will call MLK a terrorist, Malcolm X a terrorist, Black Panthers a terrorist. Like, how pathetic is that, right? And what about the White Panther? They did have a White Panther party. Were they terrorists? Were they attacking the government? How about the American Nazi Party? You want to talk about whitewashing? People don't even mention the American Nazi Party no more. Why is that? This is the Gestapo. Where do you think the Gestapo learned? Where do you think Adolf and the Nazis learned? What do you think they were inspired? No, they took it to another level. Let's just say that they did take it to another level. They took it to another level based on the teachings of America. So can't whitewash that since you care about history so much.
In that melee into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came.
Not even sure why ICE are in Minnesota. The numbers of illegals supposedly in Minnesota is half the national average. States in which there are the most illegals are Nevada, California, Texas, Florida, etc. Yeah, I'm out here in California, so this is the belly of the beast for illegals. So if they really want to do damage, they would be out here. But Gavin Newsom and some of the other, you know, it's a lot of money flowing out here. So they flex their legal muscle and, you know, they kind of were out here a little bit and then, you know, Trump got them up out of here. But this isn't about illegal immigration and mass deportations because that's not what's going on. This is about authoritarianism and desensitizing us to the police nanny state. And people are like, yes, lock them up, deport them all. And people are kind of cheering on their own demise. You know, this is just another extension of the Patriot Act.
Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, you know, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
I want to go back to video number 1 because you keep seeing that he injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He wasn't.
And Stephanie says these agendas generate big money. Division pays big for those who take advantage. Correct. And there's a saying that you never let a political crisis go to waste. So both sides are trying to capitalize on this. This is why both sides support open borders for various reasons. That's why they always talk about a legal pathway to citizenship, but then they dangle over TPS, and the T and the TPS says it all. Temporary protected status, which is why Trump could revoke it. So they say here, you're legal, but you're temporarily legal. And instead of helping the people who's been here 10, 20 years to get legal, they're just going to just have an endless influx of illegal, undocumented aliens, however you want to call it. Aliens, immigrants, illegals, whatever you want to say, it's still the same thing, right? They want that influx, the never ending influx, to stagnate wages, inflate the housing costs. Obviously with the cheaper labor, they get a lot of projects done based on the cheap labor. And then while many of the Republican politicians are championing people that are using a bunch of undocumented, illegal, indentured servant labor, they'll at the same time will be saying, build the wall, get them out of here. So both parties like that. And once those undocumented people, once they're undocumented, they vote Democrat. Once they start getting a footing and like, okay, cool, I have legal status now, many of them start voting Republican. So both parties, they really don't mind open borders. The Democrats are framed it as, oh, we love you, come one, come all. Give us your sick, you're tired, you're poor, which wasn't meant for immigrants. It was meant for foundational Black American freedmen, framed into come one, come all, invite the world, come all, right? That's what the Democrats will say. And the Republicans act like we only support heritage Americans till you start going to some of these Republican institutions like Mar-a-Lago. It's not going to be a bunch of heritage Americans working there. When you look at all of these construction sites and all of these ruby red sites, and they try to say they're just doing the jobs that no one wants to do, which is BS, because who was doing the jobs before they got here, right? There's prisoners that will do that job. The prisoners are American citizens. So you mean to tell me that the only people that will do the job are the slaves, who are wards of the state, and the undocumented immigrants who are being paid indentured servant wages? So no, it's not a matter of no one will do the job. They want to pay these low wages and undercut the labor pool so that people will say, hey, why would I go out there and do a job and it won't even allow me to pay my bills? However, when these people come over and on average, they're living anywhere from 8 to 15 or something to a house, multiple families in a house where they're all getting indentured servant wages. But collectively, I mean, that can amount to something, and this is why they dangle people coming over from places that are underdeveloped and in turmoil, because it could say, yeah, you guys are all living in this house, but it's way better than your homeland, what Trump calls a shithole. And many people think is like, well, yeah, I was living in a shithole. So if I have to live in a house with 10 people that has running water, hot and cold water, AC and Wi-Fi, I mean, that's a pretty sweet deal. But both parties support open borders.
He was far away.
Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. People are too afraid to vote third party because they're always talking about the lesser of two evils. The operative word is not lesser, it's evil. It's almost like, hey, do you want some vomit soup with extra flies on the side, or do you want a double-decker shit sandwich? And it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision. What smaller government are they pushing for? Because if they're pushing for more ICE funding, that's not smaller government.
You can't say defund the police. So that means they want to refund the police. They want to give the money, more billions to the police. That's not smaller government. So they may claim they want smaller government in some areas of activity, but when it comes to the police, which will be enforcing, when they say don't tread on my rights, who do you think would be the ones treading on your right? Even they're arming the IRS, right? So the IRS is armed. Border Patrol is armed. ICE is armed. Police is armed. Military. All of these other factions are armed. And then they say, yeah, but Republicans want smaller government. Smaller government except for in the enforcement arms? Okay. How is that going to work on don't tread on my rights? You went and got an AR and then you're championing them for getting more F-16s to drop on you.
And to talk to him, that's an active law enforcement crime scene.
Where do you see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, you know, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid.
Yeah.
Because
okay, Captain Ridiculous, you don't got to be sorry about what happened, but do you think it was justified? Because clearly you don't you don't care. And are you Christian, by the way? Because this this doesn't really seem like a very Christian nation. I mean, you know, a comment from someone from a Christian nation would make. Don't you like to say, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus have done in that situation? And you're saying you're not sorry about what happened. You're not sorry that somebody was fatally shot. So you just don't care. So are you inhumane? Like, please do tell, Captain Ridiculous, because you're being ridiculous with many of your comments. But I will concur. If Alex would have stayed his ass home, he'd be alive right now. Unfortunate reality.
because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough. He made the decision to go there. We didn't make the decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in existence until he came into that crime scene.
I want to go back to video number 1, because you keep seeing that he injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He was far away. He wasn't on the crime scene. And what I want you to see again is that law enforcement appears by the video we have to be approaching him and the person who is next to him, not the other way around. And so what I want to know is, what evidence do you have that he went after law enforcement?
Sure. The fact that he was standing in the middle of the road, there was interaction between him, the bystanders, and law enforcement, and again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be in the middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians in the middle of a crime scene injecting themselves in.
Sounds like the deadly dude has been paying attention. Yes, this is the newly formed Gilded Age we're entering into. Welcome to the police nanny Gilded Age.
Into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again, do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Yeah, again, the officers on the ground, in that melee, we hear gun, gun, gun. So that gun, at some point, became visible to officers.
But could it have been because they had him on the ground and maybe his shirt came up and they saw that it was on him? That doesn't mean that he was.
And that is why we have an investigation, Dana.
Fine.
That is what we are investigating. You're not going to know that now, and I'm not going to know that.
I think an investigation is great, but the Homeland Security Secretary said he was brandishing a weapon. Do you have evidence that we haven't seen that he was brandishing a weapon?
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers, and at some point they saw that weapon. So I do believe the secretary is 100% spot on in what she said.
Seeing
Why
a
would
weapon.
you bring a weapon and assault a federal officer if you did not have intent to harm or delay or obstruct that federal?
What Democrats are saying that Ashley Babbitt was assassinated. She wasn't assassinated. She didn't comply. She was engaging in violent, thuggish behavior. She was playing a stupid game. And unfortunately, it cost her her life by winning a stupid prize. She wasn't a victim. She was a veteran, so she knew better. And she was, who knows what she was going to do. She was unhinged. She was deranged. And the officer feared for his life. And he acted responsibly. That's what happened. She wasn't assassinated. She was killed, and it was in self-defense.
Officer with a weapon.
You keep saying that he assaulted a federal officer, but again, we have not seen evidence that that happened. It looked like he was on the defense, and again, he had a gun legally. It's sort of feels like we're in the upside down, where we have law enforcement and conservatives who are very pro Second Amendment saying the problem was that he had a gun legally.
No, the problem is, as I said several times now, is he injected himself. He put himself where he did not need to be. He put himself in and put law enforcement officers in jeopardy through his actions. These were his actions, not law enforcement officers' action. We had to react to an individual that came there for a specific reason. And again, what that reason is, we're going to find more out about that in the coming days. I'll be interested to see what his reason for being there, while Border Patrol agents were arresting a violent criminal illegal alien doing their lawful, ethical, and moral duties in Minneapolis. That's the question.
Well, but the question is also, why is an American citizen now dead for the second time who was there to document, in this case, and clearly to be there as a bystander, which is his First Amendment right.
He wasn't there to clearly document anything. Don't socially engineer the topic, Dana. He was not there to document.
Appeared
he came
to be.
there for
That's
a reason.
fair. Appeared to be.
He obfuscated and delayed officers there on the scene. That's pretty evident to me.
I want to ask you about your agents. You said that this was a highly trained agent who had been serving on Border Patrol for 8 years. What was he trained for? Because these are your Border Patrol agents, and they're now in the interior of the country, in American cities. Was he trained in urban policing?
Yes, all of our Border Patrol agents are trained in all for all types of environments, including urban policing. This particular Border Patrol agent had 8 years with some.
So what do you mean the mainstream is down on YouTube? Let me know what you mean by that. So are y'all not seeing the video or hearing the video or what? Let me know in the chat.
Specific skill sets there with both firearms and less lethal munitions. Also, let's take a look at the training and the environments that Border Patrol agents operate in. We operate in places like San Diego, California, Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans. All those have Border Patrol sectors. Detroit, Michigan. We've got Border Patrol sectors in Buffalo. So this myth, and I saw this just last night on CNN, this myth that Border Patrol agents don't work in urban areas is just that. It's a myth. We're well adept at urban areas, conducting that Title VIII immigration enforcement wherever we go. It doesn't matter if it's a desert or an urban environment. We're very well adept at doing that.
Is the agent or agents, is it your understanding that more?
Okay, so it looks like they may have blocked one of my streams. I'm not sure which one. I don't know how they blocked one but allowed the other one to go up. So it's all right. I'm about to take this video down. I'm about to pull one other video up. Hopefully this video don't get blocked. But if it does, hey, it just kind of is what it is. I want to just interact with the people. I'm not monetized right now anyway, so, you know, is what it is. Hopefully they didn't give me a copyright strike. But I'm gonna play one last video. This is from a creator. I think his name is like Penguin 2.0 or something like that. And I know that this dude is like one of the advocates in the 2A community. I don't know what else he does besides that, but he was pretty furious about this. So I'm gonna react to that video and then we'll get back into it. Yeah, I didn't know because I was kind of behind on the chat, but I didn't know that they took the stream down. So yeah, but y'all can still hear me now. So apparently it's still going for at least a little bit.
That's something very serious today. Throughout the video, you're going to see my shirt changes. It's not some kind of like crazy, wacky, magic trick from America's Got Talent or anything. I actually filmed this video earlier this morning when the story first broke. It's the killing of Alex Pretty in Minnesota at the hands of border agents. And I made the video, but I was pretty heated and I wanted to kind of simmer down and take a break, so I went out before posting it. I just got home, and now even more angles and videos have been released that show beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is a 100% unjustified killing of an American citizen here. And it seems like the execution stems from them finding out that he had a gun on his person. His Second Amendment rights. In all of the videos that exist, there is not a single moment where he is reaching for the gun, brandishing it, threatening with it, or anything at all, and we have video that shows the entire interaction from start to finish. His name was Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old nurse who worked in the ICU at Minneapolis VA healthcare system, and according to the police chief, he is a U.S. citizen with no prior interactions with law enforcement outside of a couple of traffic tickets, and believed to be a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. So for him to lose his life being shot multiple times by these agents, all because of him exercising his Second Amendment rights, which again, he wasn't trying to use as an intimidation tactic on the officers or anything like that. When they were beating him on the ground, pistol whipping him on the ground, they happened to see that he had a gun, apparently. He wasn't throwing it at them as like a threat or something, or brandishing it or anything. He simply had it on him, which he was well within his right to do, and he got murdered for it. This is completely unacceptable, and the fucking drones that are somehow like parading around like this is some kind of victory or something is sickening. It should be viewed as treasonous by any real Americans when you see this footage. And they had the gall to say that Alex Pretty was like the instigator, labeling him a domestic terrorist I saw from a couple of places, claiming that he approached these agents with a 9mm. He approached them with a gun looking to start shit. But that is not true. In all of the videos you see, he has a phone in his hands. Not a gun in his hands, he has a phone in his hands. No sane...
So now they keep lying, and I got to do more commentary so that they try to, since they already blocked my other stream, I got to do even more commentary. But I think it was just CNN, probably CNN was hating on me. But I usually react to their content, but so clearly the dude has a phone in his hand, so they can't mistake the phone for a gun. So now they're trying to say, yeah, but he had a gun on him. Yes, he had a gun on him that he didn't brandish. So then they tried to lie and say that he did brandish it. And now it turns on because he had a gun and he was able to legally possess that gun. Now they're trying to ask him, well, why did he even have the gun? Well, no. Why did the Constitution say that you have a right to bear arms? Since we want to ask why ask why? Why does the Constitution allow this? That's what you should be asking, because people love the constitutional thump. So he was constitutionally protected by being allowed and permitted to carry that firearm. So that this isn't about that he had a gun on him. He was he was a law-abiding citizen that just happened to have a firearm.
To say that Alex Pretty was like the instigator, labeling him a domestic terrorist I saw from a couple of places, claiming that he approached these agents with a 9mm. He approached them with a gun looking to start shit. But that is not true. In all of the videos you see, he has a phone in his hands. Not a gun in his hands, he has a phone in his hands. No sane person would ever mistake a phone for a gun. This is blatantly obvious what they're trying to do. And it's something they've been doing a lot recently. Trying to tell you that what you're seeing isn't real. Trust their words, not your eyes. That is completely fucking outrageous. And people are willingly doing it. That's the craziest part. There are people that are like, oh, I saw he had his phone, but if they say it was a gun, well, that must have been a gun. I cannot believe we've reached this level of brainwashing. There are so many angles of this, and in every single one of them, you can see he has his phone in his hand, and at no point during this interaction did he ever, like, pull a gun on them or anything. And in fact, in one of the angles, you can even clearly see that the agents actually took the gun from him.
Seems like people want to live in a police state stuck indoors where they don't want to be ended for going about their legal and constitutional business. This is what people are championing for. Why didn't he just comply? He did comply. The law said that you gotta get a legal permit to carry a firearm. He complied with the law. Why didn't he comply? He had his gun holstered, which is why the dude had to unholster it and try to run away with his firearm. He was compliant. Why didn't he comply? By filming, you're allowed to film. So what was he doing that was so illegal? Now, then they start saying, oh, well, he shouldn't have done this. Yeah, it's a lot of things that he shouldn't have done. But what did he do that was illegal? That they can't tell you. You can't assault officers. Yeah, I know you can assault officers, but he didn't assault any officers. So why are you even bringing that up?
Prior to him being shot, you can actually see what looks to be one of the agents disarming him, taking the gun out of its holster and running away with the gun prior to him being shot. And if that wasn't definitive, there is something even more clear that I think is completely irrefutable for anyone that's actually looking. An agent takes Alex's gun out of its holster in front of the agent that pulls out his gun and shoots him. So he can see the gun has been taken out of the holster. And it is clear Alex Pretty has both hands on the ground. He does not have a gun in them. And an agent reaches in and takes it out of the holster right before another agent pulls out his firearm and shoots him in the back. Just in case you somehow missed it, look, the agent in gray has his hand on Alex's weapon, which is still holstered. It was never unholstered. This agent takes it out of its holster before he runs away with it, and the officer right next to him is the one that pulls out his gun and shoots him. And now I want to show you the clearest video that shows everything that happened here and how it doesn't go how the authorities are saying that it did. That was Alex Pretty you saw walk by the camera right there. He has his phone in his hand, and then with his other hand, his open hand, no gun in it, is waving cars through. There is clearly no brandishing of a firearm here. He is not approaching agents with a gun or anything like that, and you will never see anything even remotely close to that happen.
Go! What the fuck is wrong with you?
In this section, you can again see Alex Pretty has his phone in his hand, and now he's trying to get some of the civilians away from these fucking worms that are now starting to push them. And then One of them got pepper sprayed, and then he got pepper sprayed as well. And when he gets pepper sprayed, you can see his hand shoots in the air like a student about to try and ask the teacher a question. It is a wide open palm. There's no weapon in that hand, and in his other hand is still the phone. There is no gun anywhere here. And now this is when he starts getting beaten by the multiple officers there.
The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly.
According to the Border Patrol, they're just doing what they're trained to do. So I know a lot of people saying, what the fuck? What are you doing? What is wrong? They're doing what they were trained to do. I mean, barbarism is the point, unfortunately. And none of us should be championing this on, but a lot of people think, why didn't they just comply? And this is what they deserve. You know, so if you think that this is what they deserve, then this is what all of us deserve when dealing with law enforcement. Aren't law enforcement supposed to be morally righteous, right? How are we supposed to depend on them to enforce the laws of morality and righteousness when they're not moral and they're not righteous? You know what I mean?
I'm going to stop the video right here because this is when Alex Pretty gets shot to death. This fucking subhuman coward, you can see, pulls out his firearm and shoots him in the back, and then shoots him multiple times after as Alex Pretty lies on the ground. You can hear one of the agents says gun, and that's when this brain-dead troglodyte pulls out his firearm and starts shooting into Alex while he was still surrounded by his boys, mind you. This is like the antithesis to all training that agents go through, by the way, to shoot into a suspect while still being surrounded by authorities. You're going to get your own people shot too, by the way, you fucking moron, you unbelievable homunculus. So he immediately starts dumping into Alex because someone said gun. But the gun, from the other angles we can see, had already been taken away from Alex, out of his holster. You can see one of the other agents running away with it. But again, he was never brandishing this firearm. And as an American citizen with Second Amendment rights and a lawful gun owner by all available information, he was allowed to have that gun on his person. It is not grounds to execute a man because you fucking freaked out and panicked because the guy you were beating and pistol whipping with fucking 5 of your friends happened to be armed. He wasn't using it to try and like shoot anyone here or threaten them. They saw the gun, and then this guy just freaked out and murdered him. Shot him multiple times. This is indefensible. Completely indefensible. And the fact that they even took him to the ground in the first place and started beating him, with one guy pistol whipping him, by the way. In other angles, you can see a guy just like pistol whipping him like he's trying to hammer a nail in with.
And that's the other thing, too. They're saying they're fearing for his life. I'm smacking him with the gun. I'm pistol whipping him. Why are you doing that? I'm scared for my life. Okay, you pistol whipping them and somebody has a knee in his back. We're all scared for our life. Okay, what do? Since we're scared for our life, gun, we have to shoot. Like, come on, bruh. If you scared, go to church, man. All of these pathetic agents are just sitting there watching the dude getting pistol whipped while they're all trembling in their boots. Shiver me timbers. We're all scared for our life. Like, come on, man. Like, who are these people trying to play?
With this gun. Like, it should have never even been acceptable for that to happen. All Alex Pretty was doing was filming, and then when some civilians started getting pushed, he tried to help. And when one got pepper sprayed, he tried to help. From all available angles and evidence and videos here, it seems to be that's all he was doing. He even made an effort to try and show that he's not like a threat or something. Like, he threw his arm in the air, wide open, nothing in his hand or anything. He wasn't fighting back against the officers. He got taken to the ground and then immediately started getting beaten. Like, all because he was fucking filming and trying to help other people around there, it seems. This is so fucking sickening. And the freaks that are cheering this on and parading around like this is something to be celebrated are just scum. You're not even American. You're a fucking drone if you actually think this is a good thing. All you care about is just like sucking wiener from the authorities now all of a sudden. You care more about just being on a team than you do thinking for yourself. It's fucking tragic. It is embarrassing. This is crazy now that I'm seeing people justify this guy's murder because he had a weapon. Wake the fuck up. This is America. You can carry weapons. I sometimes carry a gun in public. I have friends who every day carry. It is your right as an American to carry a firearm if you so choose. That is not grounds for a murder. And based on all of the
Yeah, so this should kill. But why did he have a gun? Because it was his legal constitutional right. That's why he had a gun. You don't need any answer or any further explanation besides that. Why do you have a gun while you're saying don't tread on my rights? Well, don't tread on his rights either.
do thinking for yourself. It's fucking tragic. It is embarrassing. This is crazy now that I'm seeing people justify this guy's murder because he had a weapon. Wake the fuck up. This is America. You can carry weapons. I sometimes carry a gun in public. I have friends who every day carry. It is your right as an American to carry a firearm if you so choose. That is not grounds for a murder. And based on all of the video footage, all of the available evidence, this guy was not brandishing it or anything like that. Thus, he wasn't threatening anyone or about to shoot someone with it, so they had to kill him to stop him. That doesn't seem to be the case. They're now just using the fact that he had a gun as a justification to kill him. That should be extremely alarming to anyone who cares about 2A. Like, again, him having it should not be an issue. And any real, actual American, like a real patriot, should be arguing for his right to carry, because it is something that we have the right to do, and that should not.
We've been joined by an illustrious guest. You know, I'm over here kind of popping my political spiel, but gotta give a shout out to Sincere Saida in building. You know, I was gonna call you the overseer, but I don't want you to get mad at me. You know, I'm just trolling with you anyways. But yeah, good content you've been putting out. You know, you've been on top of it. Hopefully you ain't beefing with nobody right now. And if you are, don't hurt them too bad.
Be a justification for this man being killed by these agents. This point that they're trying to beat into the empty minds of a lot of people that are trying so hard to justify it is that the only people being arrested and targeted by ICE are rapists and pedophile illegal aliens, which is just not the case. There definitely have been rapists and pedophiles that have been snatched up in all of this, and those rapists and pedophiles that have been caught and taken away, that's good. They shouldn't be out there breathing the free air. Great. But that's not all that's happening here. You could also right now march into the White House and arrest everyone in the White House, and you would get a ton of rapists and pedophiles. Why isn't that happening? If the goal is getting rapists and pedophiles off of American soil, thrown in the slammer, taking them away from society, why is it only just walking through the fucking streets of Minnesota trying to do it? You would get significantly more rapists and pedophiles if you took ICE and brought them to the White House. An administration is...
Hey, you gotta let the bro cook. If this is about, you know, the pro-life, we care about the victims, we care about the women, the Me Too. If this is about getting the pedos, right, then they should be adamant about getting the Jeffrey Epstein list. Honestly, I don't want people to get their hopes up over the list, because right now they've had the list for how long? Both administrations, many administrations have had this list, which means they know the names in the list. Why won't they release the names? They keep saying, no, it's to protect the victims. But they keep saying that Diddy is a predator. Diddy did this, Diddy did that, Cosby did this, Cosby did that, Diddy, Cosby. Okay, but then y'all want to seal the names of Cosby's alleged victims, but you're putting Cosby's names out there. Seal the names of Diddy's alleged victims, but you're putting Diddy's names out there. Fine, seal the names of these Epstein victims, but put the perpetrators' names out there. Why won't they do that? They have the files, they have the names. So what's stopping them? No, Trump won't release it, okay, but they don't need Trump to release it to say what names were in there. They've already seen it. Oh, we could only say the names that were in there when Trump's released it. Oh, Trump released it and he redacted the name. So even though I seen the name, I can't say anything. Zip, quiet as a mouse. Like, come on. Both parties are the same. There's Republicans, pedos on that list, probably Libertarian, Independent, Green Party, Democratic. It was the greatest pedo ring in history that has been spanning from continent to continent, and it's just getting swept under the rug. Because, what about the Quality Learning Center in Minnesota and mass deportations that are not happening? All of these things to distract you, but I thought you guys really cared about us being a nation of laws, right? So we should be adamant about getting some law, order, and justice for the victims of the Epstein pedo ring. Instead, people are pushing, release the files that are going to be redacted nothing burgers. They've already released a bunch of files, redacted nothing burgers. And they've only released like 1% of all of the files. So by the time those files get released, you won't be able to even read anything on it. Them releasing the files is irrelevant because they already know who's in there. Why won't they start arresting people now? When you look at do you know more people were arrested in Young Thug's RICO charge? People was like, Young Thug, who the hell is Young Thug? Like, okay, a rapper Young Thug had more people arrested in his alleged RICO charge than in this disgusting global pedo ring. But people are like, he's making America great again. No, he's making pedos, ecstatic again.
Is actively covering up a massive child sex trafficking operation and letting tons of evil people get away with this, tons of clients. So if the goal is to get this kind of evil out of this country, why would you not start with what is provably a spot that has so many of them? Also, that belief of like a secret pedophile ring was a very popular one among Trump voters for the longest time. And now that it has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to be real, legitimate reality, they are now just ignoring it. They have been proven correct that there was a huge pedophile ring of these powerful politicians, but because some of their favorite politicians are potentially wrapped up in it, they just want to drop it and forget about it. Absolutely unhinged, by the way. It's crazy. So many people for the longest time were adamant against like government surveillance and Big Brother watching them being a huge concern. Now, plenty of people are welcoming it with open arms and a huge smile on their face. For the longest time, people would be preaching about the importance of the Second Amendment and gun rights. And now, even with this, they're saying, well, he had a gun, which means that's an executable offense. So it seems like they now no longer believe in Americans' right to own guns or carry guns, which was a core component of like the right for a long time, where there was like this big fear about they're coming for our guns. And now the same people that were arguing like to protect that are now arguing against it, saying, well, this guy deserved to die because he had a gun with him.
And this is these MAGA maniacs, the don't tread on my rights, over my cold dead hands. Nah, it's not even over your cold dead hands, because now you're championing. He had a gun. Yeah, he wasn't allowing people to tread on his rights. You know, the things that you've been championing for year after years. Where the hell is the NRA at on this stuff? And people kind of get emotionally invested into these organizations, but none of them give a flying flip about you. They let these elite oligarchs and plutocrats put a battery in their back, and that's all they care about. They care about upholding the status quo. They don't care about infringing and treading on your rights. They do that with impunity because they know that as long as the president is in power that you voted for, whether it be Biden or Trump, you'll make excuses for them. And then you make so many excuses, and then you're wondering, where'd my rights go? You gave them up. You relinquished and abdicated your rights because you wanted to bootlick for the establishment. We don't need to defund the police. We need to refund the police. But they already have billions and billions of dollars. They're failing, and then you want to give them billions of dollars?
It's a fundamental right of Americans to have guns, gun ownership. You can carry them in public too. Like that, you shouldn't be killed for that. And in the footage here, it doesn't seem like he was brandishing it or anything. And also, the same people that only like a year and a half ago were constantly telling you to question the government, that you can't trust anything that comes out of the government, the authorities always lying to you, are now just willingly, blindly, unquestioningly following.
Zalipa says NRA made a pro-pretty statement. Interesting. They didn't make a pro-Philando Castile statement. I wonder what the differences in those cases are.
Anything authorities tell them to believe in, and shut out any and all thought and just have the hive mind think for them. It is crazy because it seems like the only actual belief of some of these fucking brainwashed drones is relentless cock gobbling. All they want to do is swallow boots and penis from the government. So if the administration or the news, which they used to hate the news, but now that the news just parrots points from big government that they like to clap their hands at like seals, they now just trust all of it all of a sudden, even though there's been no big change with these mainstream media outlets, by the way, that they used to not trust only a year and a half ago. But now, anytime they hear something from the news or anything that comes from the government, they will just immediately accept without a second thought, and then attack anyone else that is saying differently, or even just probing them to maybe think a little bit more about the narratives. Keep in mind, the government themselves are currently not even complying with their own laws that Trump has signed, like the Epstein Transparency Act, where the DOJ is still putting up a fight and are over a month.
So once again, we're a nation of laws, and then they're breaking a law, right? They always talk about, why didn't you just comply? But yet they're not complying. And then if you do any type of a crime, you jaywalk or you sell a nickel bag some fire trees, and suddenly it's like, you're the worst criminal. They start comparing you to Stalin.
And then attack anyone else that is saying differently, or even just probing them to maybe think a little bit more about the narratives. Keep in mind, the government themselves are currently not even complying with their own laws that Trump has signed, like the Epstein Transparency Act, where the DOJ is still putting up a fight and are over a month late to compliance with releasing the Epstein files. They are still fighting tooth and nail to not release them, and even recently, only a week ago, outright said maybe there's no court that can force them to order this. They didn't even say maybe. I gave them a very charitable thing right there. They actually said courts can't force them to do this, and that if they don't comply, there's nothing anyone can do. They can't be sued. If the DOJ doesn't comply, go fuck yourself, pussy. That's basically their sentiment. They are not complying with their own fucking laws, and yet people are still willing to overlook that in order to just keep playing for the same team. It's like it's a competition to see who can think the least and who can regurgitate enough from the hive mind to be the biggest super fan of their side. It's fucking despicable. It's actually crazy. This is real sheep behavior. I know a lot of these people like to say sheep, sheep, sheep for the longest time, but now they are actually the epitome of that. Here's just a little thought experiment if you can break through the programming for a second.
And you know what the opposite of being a sleep sheep is? Being woke. What's the opposite of being sleep? Being woke. But they've demonized woke. So they say, you don't want to be a sheep. You don't want to be sleep. Oh, so you want someone to be awakened, to be enlightened, to be alert. That just means you want them to be woke. Instead, they demonize woke and turn it into woke means you support trans bathrooms and playing in sports and drag show book readings. Is like that never had anything to do with woke, but so they can frame that into woke CRT stuff. Now you're kind of arguing against it. So like I said, what's the opposite of being woke? Being sleep and uninformed. Who wants to be that?
Enough from the hive mind to be the biggest super fan of their side. It's fucking despicable. It's actually crazy. This is real sheep behavior. I know a lot of these people like to say sheep, sheep, sheep for the longest time, but now they are actually the epitome of that. Here's just a little thought experiment if you can break through the programming for a second. Imagine what's happening in Minnesota was happening under Obama or Biden, where there were masked agents that were constantly surveilling you, and even at times asking for your papers, your documents to prove you're an American citizen, constantly needing to provide your private information to these masked agents. And these agents also had killed 2 American citizens. What do you think your response would be? Would you be like, oh yes, please, everyone needs to comply with this. This is good. This is what I want. This is what I look for in Obama or Biden. This is what I'm happy about. Would you be as excited then as you are now in that scenario? My guess would be probably not, because you would rightfully view this as an infringement on your rights as an American. Your Second Amendment right, where apparently even carrying a gun now is a crime punishable by death. Like, this isn't something anyone should be championing for. But because it's become such like a team-focused sport, people delude themselves into thinking that they have to support this, and thus they will abandon all of their beliefs in order to stay on this side. It's crazy to me. I truly don't even know what the solution here is, because people are just willingly, on their own accord, no longer trusting what they see and what they know to be true. They would rather just have the government tell them what to think and what's true. So that way they don't have to.
Yeah, go back to 1984, George Orwell's book. So much of what's being talked about was already predicted. You know, they say it was written. This is becoming a dystopian reality where, you know, it used to be a joke where say, who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? But now people are saying, who you gonna believe, the government or your lying eyes? And many people are saying, yeah, you know what? I do have really great vision, but I'm gonna believe the government. And now it's gonna get even worse with AI and the deep fakes. People see AI that's extremely comparable to the real thing. There are some tells, but to the naked eye, many people can't tell what is and isn't AI. Not only that, people have been following various influencers, public figures, and personalities. So if they like someone enough and they say something, hey, well, Trump said this, so it must be true. Trump said tariffs help us, so it must be true. Trump said inflation is doing great, so it must be true. And instead of you looking at the interest rates, that you can't afford a home, that you can't afford health care, that you can't afford diapers, when people remember, they always do this. They kept talking about, oh my God, the price of eggs. So if you guys are fretting over the price of eggs, how do you think people are able to afford healthcare costs, insurance costs, diapers, etc.? Diapers are more expensive than eggs. Shoes are more expensive than eggs. Putting your kids through college is more expensive than eggs. So why do they always focus on, oh, the price of eggs went up? And then when they go down, hey, the price of eggs are down. Okay. So if eggs right now was $1, yeah, but gas is $5. No, gas where I'm at is $2. Yeah, but the houses where you're at are $500K. How is Trump helping? He's getting the illegals out. Is he though? His deportation numbers are abysmal. So like, what is he really doing besides bloviating, beating himself on the chest and having people circle jerk him? He has people circle jerk him to say that he's doing such a great job. You know, like that mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? He has a bunch of people telling him, you're the fairest. Here, you want us to circle jerk you? You know, your approval ratings are in the tank, but maybe if we circle jerk you, you know what I mean? That will help your ego, Mr. Trump. Like, no, the dude Trump is failing. He's a buffoon. He's a blathering idiot. The thing is, he didn't have to fail. Many people agree with the deportations. Instead of doing it in a professional, sanitized way, he wants to do it in a very barbaric, theatrical way that's largely ineffective. So I really don't get why anyone would be champion on Trump. He's going to drain the swamp. Trump is the swamp thing. How could the swamp thing drain the swamp? Trump is part of the establishment. They say that they want to go against the oligarchy, but then they support Trump, who's a part of that oligarchy. Smash the patriarchy. Trump is a patriarchy. No more billionaires. Trump is a billionaire. Drain the swamp. He's part of the swamp. It's the levels of incompetence in this country right now is beyond pathetic. But not only that, we've been joined by none other than Ronnie Q. What it did do in the building. I had a stream going on earlier, and I think it was shout out to Tut Knees and Z Sarah. They told me that they had suspended one of my streams. I think it was from one of the other videos. I don't even think it was CNN. I think it was like this BBC video. I think they hit me for like a copyright one, but you know, you could be anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. But yeah, what about the prices of housing? Remember, they used to talk about a starter home. A starter home was never 400K. Many of these old boomers, I had to walk 5 miles in the snow with a 30-pound backpack, right? Like those people that say that, yeah, you bought your house at 13,000. You bought your house when it was 13,000. You bought your house when it was 80,000. Now these young people are having to buy houses at 500K, 700K. And then you want to say, we need more white babies. Why are they going to have babies when they can't even afford? Right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Like, so why would they have more babies then if they can't afford it? Then many people say, all right, YOLO, you only live once. We gonna go live our best life. And then you try to tell them, if you didn't take that trip to Cabo, maybe you could afford a house. The trip to Cabo cost $300. So if they would have saved $300, they would have suddenly been able to afford a house. Like, come on, man. Sound like Robbie Blue. Shout out to Robbie Blue. I haven't heard from him, but I know Robbie Blue does follow me on Twitter. So salute to that brother. And I believe he's a veteran. So thank you for your service.
To stay on this side. It's crazy to me. I truly don't even know what the solution here is, because people are just willingly, on their own accord, no longer trusting what they see and what they know to be true. They would rather just have the government tell them what to think and what's true. So that way they don't have to do any level of thought for their own. How do you fix that? I genuinely do not know. I have no idea.
No, and Antifa means anti-fascism. So this is what I tried to tell you earlier, Zalipa. Many people like fascism. They want fascism, feudalism, authoritarianism. They just want it in a more sanitized version, and they wanted to maintain the racial hierarchy where we're at the bottom and they're above us, so that they get some sort of ego trip, and then they don't mind if the plutocrats and the oligarchs run amok. As long as they're above us, then it gives them like an egotistical victory, like na boo boo, we're doing better than you. But it's like you're still under the thumb and under the boot of the plutocrats, the people that, you know, I want a small government. Yeah, the plutocrats and all this stuff. By the time you get a small government, it's because they will have privatized everything. Then there will be no guardrails or anything like that, because you don't want a small government. So now you are ushering in a fascistic, feudalistic, dystopian future, while at the same time you're acting like you're against it. Everyone should be an anti-fascist, but that doesn't mean that you have to go out there and support Antifa. Notice how they always bring up Antifa, but they don't bring up the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. There's still factions of the Ku Klux Klan. They won't bring them up, but they'll just constantly bring up BLM. How often do you hear them bring up Proud Boys? BLM is just, they say George Soros funded that. So that means George Soros is responsible for BLM, not the collective of black people. Now, George Soros is not funding Patriot Front, right? George Floyd is not funding Proud Boys and all these white nationalist groups. So who are funding them? No, we can't talk about that. We have to talk about George Floyd. George Floyd is not here. So once again, what about all those white nationalist groups? But BLM. Yeah, but I asked about white nationalist groups, and then it just keeps 1350. Okay, but I'm talking about the bigoted white nationalist groups. And then they just keep spinning their wheels to talk about black people. No accountability for them.
I don't know how you can watch this footage and multiple angles of this situation and still come out trusting the government.
And Audrey says conservatives, and I'll rewind the video a little bit back. Just wanted to give commentary. Conservatives think that they're helping their cause by pretending the murder was fine. They aren't. It just shows normal Republicans that there will never be a line crossed or an atrocity that goes too far. Yeah, these whole don't tread on my rights, and then they're watching people's rights get treaded on, but they're saying, oh, well, this was a radical, lefty, liberal, lunatic, progressive, and I don't agree with them. So you want their rights violated? This is the complete opposite of don't tread on my rights over my cold dead hands. Unless as a Democrat, then hey, let the state have at them. Like, no, this is very contradictory and hypocritical. Like, which one is it? Or do they say, when they say don't tread on my rights, are you only talking about if they're politically aligned with you? That's not constitutional.
Thinking that they have to support this, and thus they will abandon all of their beliefs in order to stay on this side. It's crazy to me. I truly don't even know what the solution here is, because people are just willingly, on their own accord, no longer trusting what they see and what they know to be true. They would rather just have the government tell them what to think and what's true. So that way they don't have to do any level of thought for their own. How do you fix that? I genuinely do not know. I have no idea. I don't know how you can watch this footage and multiple angles of this situation and still come out trusting the government's word on the series of events that unfolded when you can yourself watch the footage and prove them false. What do you do to someone that just refuses to at least try and see things clearly? I don't know. But it's fucking tragic, and it's only getting worse. It is so fucking out of control. I had to yap about this. I've been actually fuming all day. So yeah, that's really about it. See ya.
Okay, so that's the video right there. And I'm going to get ready to shut her down. So I do want to salute everyone that's been viewing this concurrently on the live stream and that will be watching this on the replay, gang. I don't know how the replay is going to work because since they blocked part of the stream, I don't know if they're going to automatically cut part of my stream out, if they're going to force me to shelf this stream. So honestly, this stream might not even post because some of the content was copyrighted. So I think it was from, I believe it was from one of the videos that had BBC in it. I clipped it up. I did commentary, but some of the clips, they don't care if you give commentary. They don't care about fair use. They just say, don't use our clips at all. And that's fine. And I actually, it was a fruitful stream and people was digging it. So, you know, the views was up, you know. So if y'all don't see this stream afterwards, it's because I probably had to delete it based on the YouTube, you know, YouTube policy. I believe they suspended most of the stream, but I am grateful that you guys stuck around, especially if you've been here this long. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell. So when I do these impromptu streams, you are, you know, able to engage. I may do a stream a little bit later and, you know, that one will probably be an open panel. So if anyone wants to join the stream, I'll let y'all come. If you want to troll, but hey, turn on the camera, you know what I mean? Or at least it has to be someone that's verified. But yeah, I don't mind the trolls, you know, but just come with some scholarship. There was a lot of low IQ lunatics in the chat today. So, you know, if you're going to troll, at least come with some level of sophistication. But yeah, so I'm going to do the rundown of the final visuals. I would love if y'all stick around to the end. But if you don't, I understand and I still appreciate you. The likes are free. They will not cost you a fee. So let me give you a friendly reminder. Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed. And this channel was not monetized, but I'm, you know, I'll be on the path to monetization. You know, I'm at like 500 subs. So, you know, I got a goal to get to 1,000 subs. My watch hours, I'm probably about halfway there. Whether I'm monetized or not, I have other endeavors, so I still will be here. I come here not for the monetization. I come, because I genuinely love and adore reacting with the chat, the people that's actually going to give me some information, because I not only teach, but I like to be taught as well. So I sincerely appreciate the support from everyone. But if you ever do feel like making a contribution, they don't all have to be financial. You can make a contribution for free by liking, sharing, and commenting, hitting the notification bell. That's a contribution. And then there's another way you can contribute.
Don't you think it's about time you gave me my money? Want my money? I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. Want my money? I need cash. Want my money? I need cash. Want my money?
And before we get up out of here, y'all know I'm gonna hit you. Yeah. Hey. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah. Hey. Shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Most them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounce. It's the definition of adrenaline. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flatline in your hit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku. For the cocaine, they go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God, it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racket and fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. B-Eazy Dat Dude.
You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.